In the shadows of history lie unanswered questions, mysteries so profound that they've shaped the course of civilizations, from ancient ruins that whisper forgotten truths to unexplained events that altered the very fabric of human existence. Some puzzles refuse to be solved. Who built the towering structures that defy logic? What was lost in the great sands of time? And what secrets have been buried so deep that even now they continue to haunt our understanding? The truth is out there, but it's cloaked in riddles. So sit back, relax, and join us as we unravel the mysteries that changed everything. In the rolling hills of northern Britain, near the shadow of the great Roman fort of Ibaracum, modern-day York, there lies a mystery that has lingered for nearly 2,000 years. It is a story not of lost treasures or forgotten cities, but of something far more symbolic: the disappearance of the 9th Legion's eagle. For centuries, scholars, historians, and archaeologists have wondered what became of this elite military unit and the emblem of Roman might that was taken from them. The eagle's standard, the aquila, which represented not only their honor, but the power of the Roman Empire itself. The 9th Legion was a distinguished force, one of the most renowned in Rome's military. Stationed along the volatile borders of the empire, it was during the 2nd century BC, under the command of Julius Agricola, that the 9th Thirst made its mark in Britain. The aquila, an intricately carved golden eagle held aloft by a soldier at the front of each legion, was its symbol of pride and power. The eagle was more than just a banner. It was the very soul of the legion, a symbol of Roman authority and divine favor. Losing it was not just a military defeat. It was a catastrophic blow to the legion's honor. By the year 117 AD, the 90th Legion had been stationed in the northernmost reaches of the empire on the fringes of Roman Britain, near what is now known as Hadrian's Wall. Here, the 9th was tasked with maintaining order in an increasingly rebellious region, where Celtic tribes sought to resist Roman dominance. It was a treacherous, hostile environment. The land was barren and bleak, the weather harsh, and the people restless. Roman control was tenuous at best, and the 9th was sent to confront this challenge. In 120 AD, something happened. The 9th Legion, once a proud and undefeated force, vanished without a trace. All evidence of their existence in Britain, their fortresses, their roads, and their camps, disappeared as if swallowed by the earth itself. The aquila was lost, and with it, the legacy of the 9th Legion was seemingly erased from history. Ancient sources are conspicuously silent on the details of their disappearance, and this gap in the historical record is what has fueled centuries of speculation. Some historians suggest that the 9th was lost in battle. According to this theory, the Legion was overwhelmed by a confederation of Celtic tribes, and the eagle standard was captured as a symbol of Roman defeat. The most popular account places this battle near the present-day location of the Scottish border, at a site known as the Lost Battle of the 9th. Yet no archaeological evidence has ever surfaced to substantiate this claim, and no Roman records mention such a catastrophic defeat in detail. Others posit a different theory that the 9th Legion was withdrawn from Britain entirely and relocated to the east, perhaps to fight in the far-flung reaches of the Roman Empire. According to this view, the Legion's disappearance was a strategic move. Its fate was sealed not by the sword, but by the orders of distant commanders. Yet this theory too is met with skepticism, for no evidence has been found to show the 9th in any other part of the empire following their disappearance. One of the more speculative ideas comes from the annals of legend. Could the 9th have simply dissolved into the wilds of Britain, having defected to the very tribes they were sent to conquer? Some accounts hint at a mass desertion, with soldiers abandoning the Roman cause and disappearing into the rugged hills of Scotland. Yet the idea that such a disciplined and well-trained force would willingly betray Rome seems at best improbable. The most enduring mystery, however, lies in the fate of the aquila itself, the symbol of Roman might and identity. Did the standard fall into enemy hands, lost forever in the northern wilderness, or was it hidden away by the Legion's own men, perhaps to protect it from capture, and then forgotten in the chaos of their disappearance? There have been no verified reports of the eagle being recovered. Throughout for centuries, a handful of amateur archaeologists have claimed to have found fragments of Roman military artifacts near the Scottish border, but none of these claims have been definitively linked to the 9th Legion, to the and. Then there are those who suggest a far more tantalizing possibility: that the Aqualo was deliberately hidden, not lost. That the disappearance of the ninth was not an accident, but an act of defiance or an elaborate plan of escape. Perhaps the Legion was sent to disappear, its legacy buried deliberately by those who wished to conceal its true fate for reasons known only to the highest authorities in Rome. It's this question, the question of whether the disappearance was a tragic accident or a deliberate act, that continues to fuel the mystery. What could have been so important, so significant, that the fate of an entire legion and its sacred symbol would be sealed in such secrecy? Was the loss of the Ninth Legion a turning point in the history of Rome? One that has remained veiled in silence to this very day? As you stand on the windswept hills of northern Britain, where the Ninth Legion once marched, the question lingers in the air like the echo of forgotten footsteps. What truly happened to the Ninth Legion and its sacred eagle? Could the answers still be out there waiting to be uncovered? Or is it a mystery that will forever remain locked in the annals of time? Its secrets are lost to the ages. As we move from the haunting disappearance of the Ninth Legion, we shift our gaze to another ancient enigma, one that lies buried beneath the sands of Egypt. An enigma that has puzzled historians and archaeologists for centuries. Beneath the majestic step pyramid of Jawar in the heart of Saqqara, there are sealed chambers, hidden passages and rooms, their purpose and contents still unknown. These chambers, built over 4,000 years ago, are surrounded by as much mystery as the pyramid itself. What is it that lies below the surface of this ancient structure, concealed from view, waiting to be uncovered? The Step Pyramid of Jawar, designed by the architect Imhotep around 2630 BC, is considered one of the most groundbreaking architectural feats in history. It marks the beginning of Egypt's pyramid-building era, and it stands as a testament to the ingenuity and ambition of the ancient Egyptians. Rising over 200 feet into the desert sky, this pyramid was originally built as a tomb for Pharaoh Hoseir, the ruler of the Third Dynasty, but its significance stretches far beyond its function as a royal burial site. It is said that Imhotep's design was the precursor to the Grand Pyramids of Giza that would follow. But there's something about Djoser's tomb that still captivates the imagination of modern-day explorers and archaeologists alike. Beneath the structure's imposing stone steps lies an intricate network of passages, chambers and corridors, an underground labyrinth designed to protect the pharaoh's final resting place. For years, the focus has been on the visible portions of the tomb, which have been extensively studied, explored, and documented. However, the sealed chambers beneath the pyramid remain an unsolved mystery, largely hidden from the public eye. These chambers were sealed for a reason, whether to protect the tomb from grave robbers, to conceal something of profound significance, or perhaps to hide something far more extraordinary than we can even imagine. Archaeological records tell us that in 1927, a team of Egyptian archaeologists led by Zaki Sahad made a groundbreaking discovery beneath the Step Pyramid. They located an entrance to a subterranean network, and what they found was both fascinating and perplexing. They uncovered an array of corridors, some stretching deep into the earth, and others seemingly leading nowhere. Yet, despite their extensive efforts, the sealed chambers themselves were not fully accessed. The network of passages seemed to lead to a sealed vault, a door that refused to yield to even the most determined explorers. But what could be inside these sealed chambers? Theories range from the plausible to the extraordinary, with few answers but many questions. One of the more accepted ideas is that these chambers were part of a grand tomb complex designed to protect the pharaoh's body and his belongings in the afterlife. Ancient Egyptians believed that the soul of the deceased would journey through the underworld, and so they constructed elaborate burial chambers to house everything a pharaoh might need in the afterlife: food, treasures, statues, and even his servants. Could these chambers have been meant to hold priceless objects, or even the body of Joseph himself? However, the secrecy surrounding the chambers, the reluctance to explore them in greater detail, and the sheer complexity of the passages point to the possibility of something far more extraordinary. Some have speculated that these chambers could have contained something that was never meant to be seen, not even by the pharaoh's heirs or the priests who oversaw his tomb. Perhaps it was a hidden secret, a sacred object of untold power or importance that was concealed to protect it from the eyes of the living. There are also those who believe the sealed chambers may hold clues to a deeper understanding of ancient Egyptian technology. perhaps even a lost technology that was more advanced than what we know of today. In the 20th century, various researchers and fringe theorists began to raise questions about the methods used to construct the step pyramid and its hidden passages. Some argue that the precision of the pyramid's design and the difficulty in accessing the sealed chambers point to the use of lost techniques or tools, ones that may have been far more sophisticated than anything we are aware of from the time. Could the Egyptians have possessed a knowledge of engineering that has since been forgotten, hidden away by the very people who once wielded it? As we venture further into the realm of speculation, a more mystical theory emerges. The chambers could hold something related to the divine. In Egyptian mythology, the pharaoh was considered the living god on earth, a direct descendant of the gods. The step pyramid with its celestial design could have been intended as a direct connection to the heavens. Some believe that the sealed chambers were not just designed to protect Djoser's body, but to serve as a conduit to the gods themselves. Perhaps within these hidden rooms lies an object of spiritual or cosmic significance, an artifact capable of connecting the pharaoh to the divine in ways we cannot comprehend. Yet for all the theories, the truth remains elusive. The sealed chambers have defied our best efforts to understand them. Despite the advances in technology and archaeology, the chambers remain as enigmatic as the day they were first discovered. The Egyptian government has at various times restricted access to the site, citing concerns over preservation and security. While some artifacts have been recovered from other parts of the pyramid complex, the sealed chambers remain locked away in the shadows. So, what are we to make of the sealed chambers beneath the step pyramid? Were they simply part of an elaborate burial complex? Or do they hide something far more profound? Is there a hidden artifact, a forgotten knowledge, or a lost secret still waiting to be discovered? The answers to these questions may lie just out of reach, buried beneath the sands of Egypt, waiting for a future archaeologist to unlock the doors that have remained closed for millennia. Until then, we are left to wonder what remains hidden beneath the earth, and what truths are still waiting to be unearthed in the darkness beneath Joseph's step pyramid. From the windswept sands of Egypt to the shadowed corridors beneath the step pyramid, we now turn our focus to the heart of the North American continent, an ancient city that once stood as a vibrant center of culture and power, yet now lies abandoned and silent. Its grand plaza is a haunting reminder of a lost civilization. The city is Cahokia, and its story is one of mystery, prosperity, and ultimately an unexplained disappearance that has puzzled archaeologists and historians for centuries. Situated just across the Mississippi River from modern-day St. Louis, Missouri, Cahokia was the largest and most complex pre-Columbian urban center in North America. At its peak, sometime around 1050 AD, it was home to tens of thousands of people. The city spanned over 6 square miles and featured massive earthen mounds, some rising as high as 100 feet, along with an impressive network of plazas, streets, and ceremonial structures. The heart of the city was the Grand Plaza, a vast open space that stretched across the center of Cahokia, flanked by towering mounds and monumental structures. This plaza was not just a physical space, but a cultural one, a place for rituals, gatherings, and perhaps even for trading and diplomacy. It was a center of power and ceremony, one that demonstrated the ingenuity and organization of the Mississippian people. Yet despite the grandeur of the city, something inexplicable happened. Around the 13th century, Cahokia, once a thriving metropolis, began to show signs of decline. The Grand Plaza, the symbolic and literal heart of the city, was gradually abandoned. By the time European explorers arrived in the area centuries later, the city had long been deserted. No written records exist to explain why this happened, leaving only traces of the once great civilization. What could have led to the sudden abandonment of such a sprawling urban center? And why does the Grand Plaza, once a gathering place for tens of thousands, remain silent and empty, its secrets locked away beneath the earth? The mainstream theory holds that the decline of Cahokia was tied to environmental changes. The region around the city was heavily reliant on agriculture, particularly the cultivation of maize, and the soil was worked intensely by the people. Evidence suggests that deforestation, soil erosion, and climate change could have contributed to a decrease in agricultural productivity, leading to food shortages and a collapse in the city's economic and social structure. The disruption of the environment, coupled with possible flooding from the Mississippi River, may have rendered the area increasingly uninhabitable. But the idea of environmental collapse as the sole explanation for Cahokia's fall seems inadequate when we consider the complexity and sophistication of the society that once thrived there. Cahokia was not a simple agricultural community. It was an urban hub with evidence of complex social hierarchies, ceremonial practices, and widespread trade networks that stretched from the Great Lakes to the Gulf of Mexico. Was it really just the environment that caused this sudden decline? Or could there have been another, more mysterious factor at play? Some scholars speculate that warfare and social upheaval played a role in the city's abandonment. Cahokia's position at the center of a vast trade network and its political and religious dominance may have made it a target for surrounding groups. Evidence of conflict and the burning of certain structures in the city has been found, which suggests that the city may have been attacked or suffered internal strife. Perhaps as Cahokia's power waned, rival groups moved in, either through conquest or the destabilization of the society from within. Did Cahokia's rulers lose control over their people, or did a great external force bring the city to its knees? If so, who were these invaders, and why did they choose to target Cahokia? Another intriguing theory involves the role of Cahokia's complex religious and spiritual life. The Mississippian people built monumental earthworks, including the famous Monk's Mound, which still stands as the largest earthwork in North America. These mounds, along with the Grand Plaza, were carefully aligned with celestial events, suggesting that the people of Cahokia had a deep understanding of astronomy and a connection to the heavens. Some theorists propose that the abandonment of the city may have been linked to a breakdown in the religious or spiritual order of the society. Perhaps the people of Cahokia believed they had fallen out of favor with the gods. Or perhaps a major event such as a celestial phenomenon or an omen convinced them that their way of life was doomed. Could the spiritual leaders of the city have lost their influence, and with it the will of the people? The will of yet, for all the theories, none offer a definitive answer. The true cause of Cahokia's fall remains elusive, locked in the silence of the Grand Plaza, which stands as a testament to what was lost. The plaza, once the scene of great gatherings and rituals, now lies empty. The earth beneath it holds the secrets of a civilization that vanished without explanation. Over time, nature has reclaimed much of the land, and the mounds that once held the power and prestige of Cahokia now lie quiet, their significance perhaps obscured by the weight of time. In recent years, archaeologists have made important discoveries in and around the city, uncovering more about its complex layout, its vibrant culture, and its eventual decline. Yet despite these advances, the central question remains: why was the Grand Plaza abandoned? And what led to the rapid fall of one of the most sophisticated cities in pre-Columbian North America? Was it truly environmental collapse, warfare, or something else entirely? A deeper mystery yet to be uncovered. As we stand among the mounds of Cahokia, we can't help but wonder what still lies buried beneath the earth, waiting to reveal the truth. Was Cahokia's sudden abandonment merely the end of a city, or was it a final act in a larger story, one that remains hidden in the shadows of history? The silence of the Grand Plaza speaks volumes, but only time will tell if its secrets will ever come to light. As we leave behind the echoes of Cahokia's abandoned Grand Plaza, we now travel thousands of miles northward to a remote and desolate region of the Arctic, where a strange set of petroglyphs carved into the rock by hands long since disappeared challenge everything we think we know about ancient civilizations. These petroglyphs, located in the remote hills of Qajortillik in Greenland, are unlike anything found in the Americas or the Old World. They depict images of men in strange, often inexplicable postures, surrounded by what appear to be animals that defy classification. Their existence raises more questions than answers, and their very presence seems to be an enigma wrapped in the frozen landscape of the north. The Qajortillik petroglyphs are scattered across a series of cliffs that overlook the icy waters of the Greenland Sea. The area is known for its brutal, inhospitable climate. Temperatures often plummet below freezing, and snow and ice blanket the land for most of the year. It's a place where only the hardiest of life forms can survive. Yet, nestled among the harsh landscape, these carvings are a silent witness to a past that should not exist in this part of the world. The petroglyphs themselves are startlingly intricate. The images they depict are unlike those of any known indigenous cultures in the region. Among the most puzzling features are the humanoid figures, some of which appear to be wearing elaborate headdresses or headgear with large rounded eyes and body proportions that are at times distorted. The figures seem to be engaged in various activities, but many of them are difficult to interpret. In one panel, a series of figures seems to be performing a ritualistic dance, while in another, creatures that look strikingly similar to the walrus or narwhal are carved alongside human-like figures, suggesting a deep connection between the people and the animals of their world. What makes these petroglyphs so perplexing, however, is the sheer number of elements that shouldn't be there, at least not in this location, at least not at this time. The design suggests a level of sophistication that would have been difficult to achieve in this remote environment, especially considering the isolation of the Greenlandic peoples at the time the petroglyphs were created. The prevailing theory among archaeologists is that these petroglyphs were created by the Thu people, an ancient culture that thrived in the Arctic regions between 1500 AD. The Thuer are known for their advanced hunting skills, particularly their ability to hunt sea mammals, and their distinctive art forms that often reflected their reliance on the sea for survival. However, the Kajuralic petroglyphs seem to depict creatures and motifs not associated with the Thule, nor do they resemble other known petroglyphs found elsewhere in Greenland or the Arctic. One of the most baffling aspects of the carvings is the apparent depiction of a humanoid figure that bears a striking resemblance to something from an entirely different cultural context, something reminiscent of the figures seen in the ancient rock art of the American Southwest, or even the petroglyphs of ancient Mesopotamia. This anomaly has led some researchers to suggest that the petroglyphs may be evidence of an entirely different, previously unknown culture, one that may have inhabited the Arctic region at a much earlier date than previously thought. Could these carvings be the work of a people whose presence in Greenland was wiped from history, leaving only these cryptic images as their legacy? Others have proposed even more speculative ideas, suggesting that the petroglyphs are the work of an ancient seafaring civilization, possibly one with advanced knowledge of navigation that enabled them to reach the Arctic from distant lands. Could these mysterious figures have come from as far away as the Mediterranean or the Near East, bringing with them artistic traditions that influence the petroglyphs of Greenland? The theory that the Kajuralic petroglyphs are evidence of a lost civilization with long-distance dance maritime capabilities is compelling, but no definitive evidence has surfaced to support this. Even more intriguing are the figures that appear in the carvings, particularly the representations of animals that don't seem to belong. In addition to familiar Arctic creatures, there are depictions of what appear to be animals not native to the region, some even resembling mythological beings from other cultures. These creatures defy easy classification, and their presence in the petroglyphs raises the possibility that the Kajuralic artists were influenced by stories or imagery from far-flung lands. Did the people who carved these images possess knowledge of faraway places? Or did they simply imagine such creatures as part of their own mythology? Despite the uncertainty surrounding the petroglyphs' origin and meaning, one thing is certain: these carvings are far too advanced for the small isolated groups that would have been living in the area at the time they were made. The level of detail, the diversity of imagery, and the apparent complexity of the figures suggest that the artists behind them had a significant understanding of their environment and possibly of other cultures beyond their own. So, what exactly is the mystery of Kajuralic? Were these petroglyphs created by a lost civilization, one whose story has been lost to the ages? Or were they the work of an early Arctic culture whose influence reached farther than we thought possible? The unanswered questions about these carvings continue to linger like a frozen riddle waiting for a solution. What then remains hidden beneath the ice and snow of Greenland? What other secrets lie buried in the remote hills, waiting for the right set of eyes to uncover them? The Kajuralic petroglyphs are more than just ancient carvings. They are a window into a world that may have been far more interconnected and mysterious than we can comprehend. Perhaps, just as with other ancient mysteries, the answers are out there, waiting for us to look closer and question what we think we know about the distant past. As we leave behind the cryptic symbols of Greenland's Kajuralic petroglyphs, we now turn our attention to a different kind of enigma, a map, intricately drawn that offers a glimpse of a world many believe should not exist. The map in question is the Piri race map, a 16th century artifact that has intrigued explorers, historians, and choreographers for centuries. But it is not just the map itself that is so mysterious. It's what's missing. Sections that, if uncovered, could potentially rewrite the history of our planet. The Piri Reis map, created in 1513 by the Ottoman admiral and choreographer, Piri Reis is a work of stunning detail. The map shows the coastlines of Europe, Africa, and the Americas with remarkable accuracy for its time. But it is the inclusion of a portion of Antarctica without ice that has captured the imaginations of those who study it. The map seems to depict the southernmost part of the Earth, a landmass that should have been covered in ice and unexplored by the rest of the world at the time. The map suggests that the early explorers, or perhaps someone even earlier, had knowledge of Antarctica that was lost to history. And yet, it is not just this anomaly that raises questions, it's the map's missing sections. The parts that could have provided more clues but are now lost to time. The surviving piece of the Piri Reis map is housed in the Topkapi Palace Museum in Istanbul, where it has been a subject of fascination since it was discovered in the early 20th century. The map itself is drawn on a piece of parchment, meticulously detailed with the coastlines of South America, the Caribbean, and parts of the North American coast. But it is the section that shows the southernmost portion of the Earth, including what appears to be the Antarctic coastline, that continues to defy conventional understanding. At the time the map was created, Antarctica was not only uncharted but also covered by thick ice, making its accurate depiction an impossibility using the navigational tools of the 16th century. How then could Piri Reis, an admiral working with the knowledge available to him in the early 1500s, have drawn an accurate representation of a landmass that, according to mainstream history, had not been discovered or explored by anyone until modern times? Some have proposed that the map was drawn using much older sources, perhaps maps from an unknown civilization, one that had the ability to chart Antarctica before it was covered in ice. This theory gains some traction when we consider the missing sections of the map. The Piri Reis map is not complete. Parts of it have been lost, possibly due to age, mishandling, or the destruction of the original source material. Historians have noted that the map's survival is a miracle in itself, as many such documents from this era were often destroyed or deteriorated beyond recognition. The missing portions of the map, however, are a tantalizing mystery. What information did they contain? What other geographical knowledge did they offer? Could these missing pieces have provided additional evidence of a long-forgotten civilization that charted the Earth with extraordinary accuracy? Some scholars suggest that the map's missing sections might have depicted even more extraordinary locations, places that were at the time unknown to modern explorers, but could have been known to earlier cultures or civilizations. The loss of these sections then may represent not just a physical gap in the map, but a gap in our understanding of history itself. Could it be that the Piri Reis map holds knowledge that was suppressed or forgotten? Knowledge that, if revealed, could change everything we think we know about the exploration of our planet. Further complicating the mystery is the question of the map's sources. Piri Reis himself admitted that the map was drawn using a variety of source materials, some of which he claimed to have been ancient, passed down through various civilizations, including those of the ancient Egyptians, the Greeks, and others. This suggests that the map was based on much older knowledge, possibly predating the European age of exploration by thousands of years. Some have even speculated that these sources could have included maps from a civilization with advanced maritime capabilities, a civilization that might have existed long before the Egyptians or the Greeks, whose knowledge somehow survived and was integrated into Piri Reis's work. Yet, as much as these theories intrigue, they remain speculative. Mainstream historians and choreographers have attempted to explain the accuracy of the map's depiction of Antarctica through more conventional means, suggesting that Piri Reis had access to maps from earlier explorers who had circumnavigated the globe, or that his depiction of the southern continent was based on the accounts of sailors who had ventured farther south than previously thought. But these explanations don't fully account for the level of detail and accuracy seen in the Piri Reis map, particularly when it comes to the Antarctic coastline, which remained unknown and unseen by the rest of the world until modern times. The missing sections of the map only add to the sense of something hidden, something important that has been lost or concealed. Some have even suggested that these missing parts might have been deliberately removed, either to suppress knowledge of the true nature of the Earth or to hide a discovery that was deemed too controversial for the world to know. If the missing sections truly contained a more detailed understanding of Antarctica or other unexplored regions, Why were they lost? What did they contain? And why was it never recorded in the historical record? As we consider the mystery of the Piri race map, we are left with more questions than answers. The map itself remains a marvel of geography, its strange accuracy pointing to a deeper knowledge of the world, one that we have yet to fully understand. Could the missing sections contain crucial information about ancient explorers, lost civilizations, or even the Earth's forgotten history? What did Piri race know? And what did he reveal to the world through his map, even as he left so much of it concealed? As we look at the fragments of the Piri race map today, we can't help but wonder what secrets lie hidden within the missing sections, what ancient knowledge is locked away, lost to time, and forgotten by history, and perhaps most importantly, what truths might still be waiting to be uncovered if we only had access to the map in its entirety. The answers, it seems, are still out there, waiting to be found. As we move from the enigmatic pirate map with its lost sections and unexplained knowledge, we now turn our attention to an ancient site that holds a mystery of its own, one that stretches deep into the heart of South America. Nestled in the remote highlands of the Peruvian Andes lies the Sechin Alto complex, an archaeological site that dates back over 4,000 years. This vast complex of stone structures, plazas, and terraces was once a thriving center, but its builders remain an enigma. Who were they, and why did they leave behind such an extraordinary legacy? One that offers more questions than answers. The Sechin Alto complex is not a single building or monument, but a sprawling network of ceremonial and administrative structures that cover an area of over 60 hectares. It is one of the largest pre-Columbian sites in the Andes. Yet, it has received relatively little attention compared to other ancient sites like Machu Picchu or the Nazca Lines. The site's most striking feature is its massive stone platform, or hanca, which is thought to have been used for ceremonial purposes. This platform is covered in intricate carvings, many of which depict scenes of violence, ritual sacrifice, and enigmatic human figures. The carvings on the stones at Sechin Alto are unlike those found at other archaeological sites in the region. Some of the figures appear to be holding weapons, while others are shown in what can only be described as strange, almost otherworldly poses. These images have led some scholars to speculate that the site was a center for religious and ritual practices, possibly even a place where the builders of Sechin Alto sought to connect with forces beyond their understanding, forces represented in the symbols and figures etched into the stone. But it is not just the artistry that raises questions. The scale and sophistication of the Sechin Alto complex suggest a highly organized society, one capable of engineering and planning at a level that was for its time unprecedented. The stones used in the construction of the platform and other structures are enormous, some weighing several tons and were transported from quarries several kilos away. This feat of engineering raises several questions. How did these ancient builders, lacking the technology we take for granted today, manage to cut and transport such massive stones with such precision? What tools did they use, and how did they move these stones across the rugged terrain of the Andes? The mainstream explanation is that the builders of Sechin Alto were part of the early Andean civilizations, likely ancestors of the later Moche and Chauvin cultures. These people are thought to have used simple tools such as wooden sledges and ropes to transport the stones. However, the size and precision of the carvings at Sechin Alto, along with the sheer scale of the site, have led some to wonder if the builders possessed knowledge or techniques that have been lost to time. Was Sechin Alto simply the work of early Andean peoples, or does it represent the legacy of an even older, more advanced civilization, one whose knowledge was lost long before the rise of the Inca? Adding to the mystery is the layout of the site itself. The Sechin Alto complex is arranged in a way that suggests an advanced understanding of geometry and astronomy. The alignment of certain structures, for example, seems to correspond with the movements of the sun and the stars. Could it be that the builders of Sechin Alto were not only master builders and artisans, but also astronomers, using the landscape itself to mark the passage of time or to align with celestial events? Some researchers have pointed to the site's apparent connection to the solstices and equinoxes, suggesting that it may have been a place for ritual or astronomical observation, perhaps even a place where knowledge of the cosmos was passed down through generations. Yet, despite the site's significance, There is little known about the people who built it. The Chichen Alto complex predates the Inca Empire by over 1,000 years, and there is no clear record of the civilization that constructed it. Archaeologists have not been able to identify the people who inhabited the region during the time the site was active. Was Set Alto built by a lost civilization, one that vanished without a trace? Or was it the work of a culture that left behind no written record to explain their achievements? Some fringe theories propose that the builders of Chichen Alto may have had contact with civilizations from distant lands. Could there have been an ancient network of explorers and traders that spanned the globe, bringing knowledge and cultural influences to the remote Andean highlands? These theories suggest the builders of Chichen Alto could have been influenced by other now-lost cultures from across the Pacific, perhaps even from as far as the ancient Near East, but such theories remain highly speculative, and there is no concrete evidence to support them. Nonetheless, the idea that the builders of Chichen Alto may have been in contact with distant cultures has captured the imaginations of those who believe that human history is filled with untold connections and unknown influences. Another theory suggests that the builders of Chichen Alto may have had access to lost technologies, such as advanced construction methods or tools that have since disappeared. This theory is supported by the fact that the site's stonework appears to be of a higher quality than what is found at other contemporary sites in the region. Was there technology at Chichen Alto that was later lost to history? And if so, why has it remained hidden from our understanding of the ancient world? The mystery of the Chichen Alto complex deepens when we consider its eventual abandonment. Despite its scale and complexity, the site was eventually deserted, and the civilization that built it disappeared. What caused this sudden decline? Was it environmental factors such as drought or flooding that led to the downfall of the society? Or was it the result of social or political upheaval, perhaps even the collapse of a once great religious or cultural system? As we stand at the edge of the Chichen Alto complex today, the site seems to hold more questions than answers. The massive stone platforms, the enigmatic carvings, and the unexplained layout all suggest that this was a place of great importance. But who were the builders, and why did they leave behind such a mysterious legacy? What knowledge did they possess? And what happened to their civilization? The answers, like the builders themselves, remain lost in the sands of time, waiting to be discovered, perhaps by the next generation of explorers or historians. As we reflect on the Chichen Alto complex, one thing is clear. The mystery of its origins, purpose, and eventual abandonment is far from solved. The answers may lie buried beneath the earth, hidden in the stones themselves, waiting for someone to unlock their secrets. Until then, we're left to wonder what still remains hidden in the highlands of Peru, waiting to challenge our understanding of the ancient world. As we leave behind the high Andes and the enigma of Chichen Alto, we now turn to another ancient civilization, one that flourished in the wetlands of eastern China, an advanced society whose story ended abruptly, leaving behind only its monumental infrastructure and unanswered questions. This civilization was the Liangzhu culture, whose achievements in hydraulic engineering and urban planning were remarkable for their time. Yet, despite their impressive achievements, the collapse of the Liangzhu civilization remains one of history's most intriguing and mysterious disappearances. Located in the Yangtze River Delta, the Liangkuri culture reached its peak around 20,300 to 4,000 years ago. The heart of this civilization lay in what is now Jiang Province, where a sophisticated network of canals, dams, and levees was constructed to manage the flow of water across the floodplain. The Liangzhu people were masters of hydraulic engineering, and their ability to control water allowed them to transform a vast and often unpredictable landscape into a productive, stable environment. They created a system of water management that not only served to irrigate fields, but also protected the cities and towns from the seasonal floods of the Yangtze River, one of the largest and most powerful rivers in the world. At the center of the Liangzhu culture was a city, possibly their capital, that stood as a testament to their engineering prowess. Archaeological excavations have uncovered remains of large, well-planned urban areas, complete with wide streets, rectangular layouts, and large residential compounds. But what stands out the most is the sheer scale of the hydraulic infrastructure. Dams, canals, and water reservoirs were strategically placed to control the flow of water throughout the region, ensuring that agriculture could thrive even in the face of the river's annual flooding. The people of Liangzhu had mastered their environment, transforming the floodplains into a fertile, controlled landscape. Yet, for all their technological prowess, the Liangzhu civilization collapsed around 2000 BC, and the reasons for its sudden demise remain shrouded in mystery. Evidence suggests that the city's complex hydraulic system was damaged or destroyed in some way, but what caused this destruction is unclear. Was it a catastrophic flood that overwhelmed their sophisticated infrastructure? Or did the people of Liangzhu themselves somehow dismantle or abandon their city? The sudden abandonment of such an advanced civilization raises many questions, especially when considering how well they had mastered the art of water management. Some scholars point to environmental factors as the root cause of the collapse. The region's reliance on hydraulic systems meant that any disruption in the natural flow of water, be it from a changing climate, shifting river patterns, or natural disasters, could have had catastrophic consequences. It's possible that the people of Liangzhu faced a prolonged period of drought or an unusually severe flooding event that rendered their infrastructure incapable of supporting the population. Such an event could have led to famine, displacement, and ultimately the collapse of the society. However, environmental explanations, though plausible, do not fully account for the sudden and complete abandonment of the civilization. The extent of the water management system, the size and complexity of the urban centers, and the suddenness of the collapse suggest that something more might have been at play. Some researchers have proposed that political or social upheaval played a role in the fall of the Liangzhu culture. Did internal conflict or a change in leadership destabilize the society? Could the elite class who were responsible for the upkeep of the hydraulic systems have lost control over the population, leading to a breakdown in the essential water management practices? Or was there a more dramatic societal shift, such as the rise of a rival civilization that led to the abandonment of the region? Others suggest a more speculative theory that the Liangzhu civilization might have been the victim of a large-scale invasion or external attack. The region's strategic location along the Yangtze River would have made it a prime target for neighboring groups, and some have speculated that the collapse could have been a result of such an invasion. Yet there is little archaeological evidence to support this theory, and no clear signs of warfare or external conflict have been found in the ruins of Liangzhu. Ruins of perhaps one of the most intriguing aspects of the Liangzhu collapse is the fate of the hydraulic infrastructure itself. While much of the city has been abandoned, the extensive network of canals, reservoirs, and levees remains. Yet, despite the impressive scale of these structures, many of them appear to have been abandoned and left to decay. Did the destruction of the hydraulic system occur over time due to neglect or environmental factors? Or was it the result of a sudden and deliberate act, a form of societal collapse that resulted in the dismantling of their most essential technology? Even more perplexing is the discovery of large elaborate jade artifacts found in Liangzhu sites. Jade, which was highly prized in the culture, was often used for ceremonial purposes, including the creation of ritualistic objects and tools. These artifacts suggest that the Liangzhu people placed great importance on ritual and symbolism. Yet, as the civilization collapsed, these jade items seem to have been buried or abandoned, left behind as the culture faded into history. Were these objects and the rituals they represented abandoned voluntarily? Or did the collapse of the hydraulic systems and the society itself lead to their eventual disappearance? The question of why the Liangzhu civilization vanished remains unresolved. While the collapse could have been caused by environmental factors, political instability, or invasion, the lack of a clear explanation only adds to the mystery. The sheer sophistication of the hydraulic infrastructure, the complexity of the urban centers, and the rapid abandonment of the region suggests that the people of Liangzhu were suddenly forced to leave everything they had built behind. So what exactly happened to the Liangzhu civilization? Was it simply a victim of natural forces, or was there a deeper societal collapse at work? What happened to the people who once thrived in this sophisticated water-managed city? And why did they vanish so suddenly from the historical record? As we continue to exploring this mysterious disappearance, we are left to wonder what still remains buried beneath the earth, waiting to reveal the secrets of a civilization that mastered water but ultimately was undone by it. As we leave behind the mysterious collapse of the Liangzhu civilization, we now turn to one of the most famous figures in history, Alexander the Great, and a mystery that has haunted historians for centuries: the location of his tomb. a man whose empire stretched across 3 continents, from Greece to Egypt to the reaches of India. Alexander's death in 3023 BC left the world in mourning and sparked a quest for his final resting place that has yet to be resolved. For over 2,000 years, the exact location of Alexander's tomb has eluded us. His life, filled with conquests and legendary feats, has become the stuff of myth, and the mystery of where his remains lie is no less enigmatic. What makes this question so perplexing is the historical significance of his burial. Alexander's tomb, after all, would not have been just a simple resting place. It would have been a monument to the greatest conqueror the world had ever known. A site visited by rulers, philosophers, and dignitaries from across the ancient world. Yet, despite its monumental importance, no one today can say with certainty where it is. The search for Alexander's tomb began almost immediately after his death. In 323 BC, he died in the palace of Nebuchadnezzar II in Babylon under mysterious circumstances. According to ancient sources, his body was initially prepared for burial in a simple, ritualistic manner, but it wasn't long before his generals, eager to preserve his legacy, decided that his final resting place should be something far grander. The body was eventually transported from Babylon to a location befitting his stature, an event in itself that was filled with drama and intrigue. The most widely accepted story is that Alexander's body was taken to Egypt, to the ancient city of Alexandria, where a grand mausoleum was built to house his remains. Over time, the tomb became a symbol of power and grandeur, drawing pilgrims and rulers alike, all hoping to pay their respects to the fallen king. It is said that Alexander's tomb was located in the heart of Alexandria, near the Temple of Serapis. Ancient accounts describe it as an opulent structure with a statue of Alexander on his tomb and various treasures surrounding him. The location became a point of reverence for many with Ptolemaic and later Roman rulers making pilgrimages to the site. But here's where the mystery begins. Despite these accounts, no one has ever conclusively identified the location of Alexander's tomb. While the city of Alexandria has been excavated extensively, no trace of his mausoleum has been found. There have been various theories and claims over the centuries, but none have been definitively proven. In fact, the search for the tomb has been marked by frustrating dead ends, and what was once a celebrated site has seemingly disappeared from the historical record. The most famous attempt to locate the tomb was in the 19th century, when a team of archaeologists believed they had found the burial place beneath a modern building in Alexandria. They uncovered a large marble structure that seemed to match descriptions of Alexander's tomb. But the excavations were inconclusive. Despite extensive digs, no actual remains or inscription linking the site to Alexander himself were found. It was another frustrating chapter in the centuries-long hunt for his tomb. One of the reasons this mystery has been so difficult to solve is that much of the ancient city of Alexandria has been lost beneath the waves of the Mediterranean. Over the centuries, the city has been ravaged by earthquakes, tsunamis, and human activity, burying many of its landmarks underwater. In fact, much of what we know about ancient Alexandria now comes from underwater excavations, where statues, inscriptions, and other artifacts have been recovered from the sea. It's possible that Alexander's tomb, if it was indeed located in the heart of the city, now lies beneath these waters, swallowed by time and nature. The mystery of the tomb's location deepens when we consider the various alternative theories that have been proposed over the years. Some historians argue that Alexander's tomb might not have been located in Alexandria at all. Instead, they suggest that it could be somewhere in the ancient city of Memphis, Egypt's former capital, or even in a distant part of his empire, such as the city of Alexandria in modern-day Iraq. Some speculate that after the initial burial in Babylon, Alexander's remains were moved once again, perhaps, by one of his successors or a ruler keen on claiming the tomb for themselves. One particularly intriguing theory is that Alexander's tomb could have been deliberately hidden or erased from history. Could it be that after centuries of veneration, someone or some group decided to erase the location of the tomb, either to protect it or to keep its power from being used by future rulers? There are stories of tombs being hidden from looters or invaders, and it is possible that Alexander's burial site was sealed off, its location purposely obscured to keep its sanctity intact. Some speculate that the tomb might have been destroyed or lost during the tumult of the later Roman Empire when Alexandria itself was sacked and the city's glory faded into the past. There are also those who have suggested that the tomb of Alexander the Great might never have existed in the way we imagine. Perhaps they argue the tomb is symbolic in nature, less of a physical resting place and more of an idea, a concept of immortality that transcends any specific location. Alexander's legacy, they claim, is found not in a mausoleum, but in the empire he built and the cultures he influenced. Perhaps his tomb exists in the memory of history itself. Its location is elusive because it lies not in stone or marble, but in the pages of the ancient texts that recount his life and conquests. And then there are the fringe theories, ones that suggest far more unusual possibilities. Could Alexander's tomb have been hidden by secret societies who wished to keep his resting place as a place of power? Or is there a more esoteric answer, something hidden in the stars or in the geography of ancient Egypt? The speculation is endless, but none of these ideas are backed by concrete evidence. What is clear, however, is that the mystery of Alexander's tomb remains unsolved. Despite centuries of searching, the greatest conqueror the world has ever known still lies in a grave that no one can definitively locate. The ancient world has given us countless answers about his military campaigns, his rise to power, and his lasting influence. But the question of where he was laid to rest continues to haunt us. As we reflect on the vanishing location of Alexander's tomb, we are left to wonder, could it be that the final resting place of this legendary figure has been lost to time forever? Or might there still be clues waiting to be uncovered, hidden beneath the sands of Egypt or the waves of the Mediterranean, waiting for the right discovery to reveal the last secret of one of history's most remarkable men? As we move away from the mystery of Alexander's vanishing tomb, we now travel to a place where the stones themselves seem to hold secrets of an ancient craft so precise and advanced that even today it continues to baffle scholars. Deep within the quarries of Aswan, Egypt, lies one of the most enigmatic monuments ever attempted, the unfinished obelisk. Here, half-carved from the bedrock, is a colossal stone that was abandoned centuries ago. And yet, its incomplete state raises more questions than it answers. What was its purpose, and why was it left to rest unfinished, buried in time yet still speaking to us with its silent, unsolved mystery? The unfinished obelisk is massive, estimated to weigh around 1,000 tons, and stands as a testament to the ambition of the ancient Egyptian builders. The site where it was abandoned, situated in the quarry of Aswan, was once the heart of Egypt's stonework industry. This is where the Egyptians sourced the granite used for many of their most iconic structures, including the pyramids, temples, and the great obelisks that dotted their land. But unlike the finished obelisks that now grace temples across Egypt, this one was never completed. It lies half-carved in the quarry, the lines of its shape clearly visible in the rough stone. But the task of finalizing it was never carried out. The obelisk's location itself is striking. It is nestled in a natural depression, surrounded by towering walls of granite that rise up like silent sentinels. The stone of the unfinished obelisk is still attached to the surrounding rock, as though it were moments away from being released. The precision with which the Egyptians had begun to carve it suggests a level of expertise in stonework that is almost beyond comprehension. Even in its incomplete form, the obelisk offers clues about the ancient Egyptians' remarkable abilities. The lines are straight, the edges sharp, and the angles seemingly perfect, all created without the modern tools and technology that we take for granted today. What makes the unfinished obelisk so intriguing, however, is not just the scale of the stone or the precision of the work. It's the mystery of why it was left unfinished. Ancient texts and records speak of the grandeur of Egyptian obelisks, how they were symbols of power, light, and the divine. Erected to honor the gods and the pharaohs, finished obelisks were carefully placed at the entrances of temples, towering over the landscape with inscriptions that told stories of royal achievements and divine favor. But the unfinished obelisk was meant for none of this. It was abandoned before it could be completed. And the question arises, why? Some scholars believe that the obelisk was simply abandoned because of a flaw in the stone itself. They suggest that cracks appeared during the carving process, rendering the monument too unstable to continue. This would not have been an uncommon occurrence in the quarries of Aswan, where the stone was often unpredictable and subject to natural imperfections. It's entirely possible that as the artisans carved deeper into the granite, they discovered the flaw and decided it was too risky to finish the obelisk, lest it collapse or shatter during transport. This explanation, while plausible, seems almost too simple for such a massive and carefully planned undertaking. Why would the Egyptians, known for their mastery of engineering, have allowed something as crucial as an obelisk to fail in such a way? Other theories suggest that the abandonment of the unfinished obelisk could have been the result of a shift in political or religious priorities. Perhaps the pharaoh who commissioned the obelisk died before it could be completed, leaving the project to be abandoned. Alternatively, it could have been the result of a change in religious or ceremonial practices where the need for such a monumental structure waned and the resources were redirected elsewhere. This could explain why, after the initial effort, the workers ceased their task and left the obelisk half-formed in the quarry. But perhaps the most intriguing, though highly speculative theory, is that the obelisk's unfinished state holds a hidden meaning or purpose, one that has been obscured by the passage of time. Some researchers have suggested that the unfinished obelisk may have been intentionally left incomplete to symbolize something deeper, perhaps a cosmic or ritualistic significance that we have yet to fully understand. The process of shaping and carving stone, after all, was not merely a physical act in ancient Egypt. It was a sacred task, one connected to the realm of the gods. Could it be that the unfinished state of this obelisk was somehow a part of the ritual, meant to represent a moment of transition, a point at which the stone itself would remain forever suspended between the physical and spiritual worlds? Moreover, the size of the unfinished obelisk raises questions about the ancient Egyptians' capabilities in stonework. How were they able to extract such a massive monolith from the quarry in the first place? The process of carving the obelisk from solid granite would have required advanced techniques, and yet, the Egyptians did not have the machinery we would expect for such a task. Instead, they relied on simple tools like copper chisels, wooden wedges, and abrasive sands to shape the stone. It's a remarkable feat that we still don't fully understand, and the unfinished obelisk only adds to this mystery. How were they able to transport and carve such a colossal stone, and why was it abandoned at such a critical stage? Did they possess tools or methods that have been lost to time? The unfinished nature of the obelisk also raises another question. Could this monument have been abandoned intentionally, perhaps as a form of ancient trial or initiation in Egyptian culture? The act of creating something as monumental as an obelisk carried deep symbolic significance. Could it be that the act of leaving the structure incomplete was itself part of a larger ritual, one that we have yet to decode? Some even speculate that the obelisk's unfinished nature could represent the transient nature of life itself, a reminder that even the most powerful and enduring creations can be left incomplete by the whims of fate or the gods. As we stand before the unfinished obelisk today, it remains an enduring mystery. The immense scale of the stone, the precision of the carving, and the strange abandonment of the project raise more questions than answers. Was it a simple mistake, a shift in political power, or does the unfinished nature of the obelisk carry a deeper meaning, hidden beneath the surface of the stone? The secrets of the unfinished obelisk remain locked in time, waiting for a discovery that may one day reveal the full story behind its creation and its abandonment. Until then, we are left with only our theories and wonder, asking ourselves, what more could be hidden in the half-carved granite, waiting to be uncovered by future generations? The unfinished obelisk may hold secrets not just of ancient stonework, but of a culture whose mysteries continue to elude us. As we leave behind the unfinished obelisk, we now journey into the frozen landscapes of Greenland, a place once teeming with life and ambition. Here, amid the icy winds and vast tundra, lies the mystery of the Norse Western settlement, a thriving colony that, after centuries of existence, vanished without a trace. The disappearance of this settlement remains one of history's most perplexing and unsolved riddles, with scholars still debating what could have caused its sudden and unexplained collapse. The Western settlement was established by the Norse in the late 10th century when Eric the Red, the legendary Viking explorer, first sailed to Greenland. The settlers, primarily of Scandinavian origin, established a number of farms, villages, and churches on the island's southwestern coast, where the land was more fertile and the climate relatively milder compared to other parts of Greenland. The settlement prospered for several hundred years, its people living off livestock, hunting, and trade with other Norse communities in Europe. At its peak, the Western settlement was home to over 2,000 people with farms stretching across the lush green valleys, the remnants of which are still visible today. The archaeological evidence suggests a well-organized society, one that was capable of cultivating crops and raising livestock in the harsh conditions of Greenland. The settlers built churches, developed trade routes, and adapted to their environment, showing remarkable resilience. And yet, by the end of the 15th century, the settlement had completely disappeared. The exact reasons for its collapse are unknown, and no conclusive evidence has ever been found to explain what happened to the people who once called this frozen land home. The first clues to the settlement's decline came from the written accounts of the Norse themselves. In the 14th century, the Icelandic sagas mention the Western settlement in passing, but they do not offer a definitive explanation for its demise. The sagas tell us that the settlement's inhabitants had regular contact with Norway and Iceland, sending goods such as walrus ivory and furs across the seas. However, by the time of the 15th century, these accounts became increasingly sparse and the Western settlement ceased to appear in written records altogether. It was as though the colony simply faded into history. Archaeological excavations in the 20th century have revealed much about the daily life of the settlers. Ruins of farms, homes, and churches have been uncovered along with the remains of animals that were domesticated by the settlers, such as cattle, sheep, and goats. These discoveries suggest that the people of the Western settlement were able to establish a sustainable way of life in Greenland's harsh environment. The settlers also built a network of trade routes, exchanging goods with the Old World. For a time, it seemed that the Western settlement had a promising future, one that would continue for generations to come. Yet, by the early 15th century, the settlement began to decline. Evidence shows that the people of the Western settlement stopped building and maintaining their farms. In some cases, entire homes were abandoned, and artifacts from daily life were left behind. The question, of course, is why? What caused the sudden and dramatic collapse of a society that had once thrived in one of the world's most unforgiving environments? Several theories have been proposed to explain the disappearance of the Western settlement. One of the most widely accepted explanations are that climate change played a significant role in the settlement's collapse. Around the time of the settlement's decline, the Northern Hemisphere experienced a period of cooling known as the Little Ice Age. The cooling climate would have made farming and animal husbandry increasingly difficult, pushing the settlers to the brink. Crops that had once thrived in the region, such as barley and oats, would have struggled to grow, and the animals that sustained the settlers would have faced harsh winters. For a society so reliant on farming and livestock, the changing climate would have been a crippling blow. However, climate change alone does not explain the full story. The evidence suggests that the settlers did not entirely abandon their way of life when the climate began to cool. Some scholars have argued that the Norse simply adapted to the changing conditions by shifting their focus from farming to hunting, particularly seal hunting. This would have been a natural response to a cooler, harsher climate, as seals were abundant in the waters off Greenland's coast. In fact, hunting remains have been found at Western settlement sites, showing that the Norse were still actively hunting in the later stages of the settlement's existence. But even with this shift, the collapse continued. Another theory centers around economic factors. As European trade routes expanded, the demand for Greenland's goods, such as walrus ivory, declined. The Western settlement was heavily dependent on trade with Europe, and as trade shifted away from Greenland, the settlement's economy began to falter. The collapse of trade networks, combined with the difficulties posed by a cooling climate, could have left the settlement vulnerable to social and political unrest. There are also more speculative theories about the disappearance of the Western settlement. Some suggest that the settlers may have been affected by an outbreak of disease, perhaps something like the plague which ravaged Europe in the 14th and 15th centuries. Others have proposed that the Norse settlers isolated on Greenland's rugged coast may have been attacked by other groups, either indigenous peoples or rival settlers. While there is no concrete evidence to support these theories, they add another layer of complexity to the mystery. Perhaps the most puzzling aspect of the disappearance is the fact that the Eastern settlement, another Norse colony located farther to the north, continued to survive for some time after the Western settlement had disappeared. The reasons for the survival of the Eastern settlement are unclear, but it suggests that the Western settlement may have faced a unique set of challenges that led to its eventual collapse. Could the people of the Western settlement have been cut off from the Eastern settlement and left to fend for themselves in the face of mounting difficulties? As we look back on the disappearance of the Norse Western settlement, we are left with more questions than answers. The settlers' sudden abandonment of their homes, their trade routes, and their farms remains a mystery. Was it the changing climate that led to their collapse? Or was it a combination of factors, economic, social, and environmental, that finally pushed them to the brink? Could there be something more at play, something hidden beneath the ice and the ruins that we have yet to uncover? The mystery of the Western settlement's disappearance continues to haunt historians and archaeologists to this day. Its story, like the ruins scattered across the Greenlandic coast, is a reminder of how fragile human civilizations can be, even in the face of incredible ingenuity and resilience. And as the cold winds of Greenland sweep across the deserted farms and abandoned homes, we are left to wonder what really happened to the people of the Western settlement, and what secrets lie buried beneath the snow and stone waiting to be uncovered. As we leave behind the mystery of the Norse Western settlement in Greenland, we now turn to a place far older and further east, one that harbors an astronomical secret hidden within its ancient ruins. The Taosi Observatory, located in the Shanxi province of China, is a site that has long intrigued archaeologists and historians. It is one of the oldest and most sophisticated astronomical observatories ever discovered, and yet it contains a mystery that is yet to be fully unraveled. What hidden knowledge did its builders possess? And what astronomical codes remain concealed in its layout, waiting to be deciphered? The Taosi Observatory is located on the banks of the Fen River, surrounded by the dramatic landscape of northern China. The site itself consists of a series of large circular earthworks, stone structures, and an array of alignments that seem to correspond with celestial events. When it was first discovered, it was immediately clear that the site had been constructed with an understanding of the heavens that was far ahead of its time. The observatory dates back to the 21st century BC, during the late Neolithic period, making it older than the ancient pyramids of Egypt and almost contemporaneous with the early Egyptian astronomical traditions. The most striking feature of the Taosi Observatory is its series of circular earthworks. These large concentric rings are believed to have been used as a means of tracking celestial bodies, with each ring corresponding to different aspects of the sky. The size and precision of these rings suggest a highly advanced understanding of astronomy. The builders of the Taosi Observatory must have been keenly attuned to the movements of the stars, the sun, and the moon. What is especially fascinating about these rings is that their alignment seems to correspond to some of the most important celestial events: the solstices, equinoxes, and even specific lunar phases. It's as if the builders of Taosi had encoded a vast celestial calendar into the earth itself, using the landscape to record the passage of time. But the mystery doesn't end with the alignment of the rings. When researchers began to excavate the site, they discovered that it contained more than just simple markers for celestial events. They found evidence of advanced astronomical tools, some of which had been used to track the movements of the stars and planets. These tools, made from stone and bone, were carefully crafted and aligned with the rings, suggesting that the people of Taosi were not merely observing the heavens. They were actively mapping them. This is a remarkable achievement for a society so far removed from the technological advancements of later civilizations. Despite these groundbreaking discoveries, the full significance of the Taosi Observatory remains elusive. While it is clear that the site was used to track celestial events, the precise knowledge and methods employed by the builders are still unknown. How did they measure the movements of the stars with such accuracy? What kind of astronomical system did they use to map the heavens? These are questions that continue to perplex researchers. Some scholars believe that the Taosi Observatory was used for ritual purposes, perhaps as a site for religious ceremonies connected to the heavens. It's known that many ancient cultures, including the Chinese, placed great importance on the alignment of the stars and the cycles of the moon. The site's alignment with celestial events suggests that it could have been a place where astronomical phenomena were interpreted as messages from the gods, guiding the rulers and priests of the time. Could it be that the observatory was a tool not just for tracking the stars, but for understanding the will of the divine? Others propose a more practical explanation for the observatory's purpose. They suggest that it was primarily a tool for agricultural planning. In ancient times, societies that relied on farming were keenly aware of the importance of celestial cycles, the changing of the seasons, the timing of the harvest, and the fertility of the land were all governed by the movements of the stars and the sun. It's possible that the builders of Taosi used the observatory to track these cycles, ensuring that their agricultural practices were perfectly synchronized with the rhythms of nature. This would explain the precision of the alignments and the careful placement of the earthworks, an ancient attempt to predict and control the forces of nature. The force, however, there are also more speculative theories that suggest the Taosi Observatory may have had a far more profound significance. Some researchers propose that the site was used to track not just the movements of the sun and stars, but also the cycles of the planets. Could the builders of Tai had possessed an early form of astrology or planetary science? The idea that ancient civilizations had a deeper understanding of planetary movements even before the rise of later astronomical cultures is a fascinating one. Some even speculate that the Taosi Observatory might have been a center of learning where ancient knowledge about the stars and planets was passed down through generations, much like the libraries of Alexandria in the ancient Mediterranean world. But perhaps the most intriguing aspect of the Taosi Observatory is the idea that it contains a hidden astronomical code, one that has yet to be fully deciphered. If the builders of Taosi were truly tracking the stars and planets with such precision, it's possible that they encoded this knowledge into the very structure of the site itself. Some have suggested that the circular earthworks may not just represent the passage of time, but may also contain hidden patterns that are only visible when viewed from the right angle or at the right time of year. Could there be an astronomical code embedded in the layout of the site? A code that has yet to be unlocked by modern researchers. In recent years, some scholars have proposed that the layout of the observatory contains a form of advanced geometry, one that reflects an understanding of mathematical concepts far ahead of its time. The precise measurements and alignments of the earthworks suggest a deep knowledge of geometry and spatial relationships. Could the builders of Taosi have been using these geometric principles to map out the movements of the stars and planets? Much like modern astronomers use telescopes and computers to track celestial bodies today, the mystery of the Taosi Observatory is not just about understanding the past. It's about recognizing the incredible potential of ancient civilizations to unlock the secrets of the universe. The precision with which the Taosi Observatory was constructed and the advanced tools and methods used to track celestial events suggest that the people of Tai possessed a knowledge that was far ahead of their time. Yet much of that knowledge remains hidden, buried within the ruins of the site itself. As we stand before the circular earthworks of Taosi today, we are left to wonder what astronomical secrets lie hidden within the site's layout. Could the builders of Taosi have encoded a complex system of celestial knowledge that we have yet to fully understand? And perhaps most intriguingly, could the observatory's hidden code be a key to unlocking other ancient mysteries, ones that have eluded us for centuries? The Taosi Observatory remains one of history's darkest and most unanswered mysteries, and as we continue to explore it, we find ourselves questioning the depth of ancient knowledge and the potential for discovery that still lies ahead. What other hidden codes or celestial maps might be waiting to be uncovered, waiting for the right eyes to see them? The answers, it seems, are out there, still hidden beneath the ancient stones of Taosi, waiting to reveal their secrets to those who dare to look. As we move away from the secrets of the Taosi Observatory, we now turn to another enigmatic relic from the ancient world, one that has captivated treasure hunters, scholars, and historians alike for over 70 years. The Copper Scroll, part of the famed Dead Sea Scrolls discovered in the 1940s and 1950s, is a cryptic document that contains a mystery far darker and more tantalizing than any ordinary text. Unlike its companions in the scroll collection, which are mostly religious or philosophical in nature, the Copper Scroll describes hidden treasures, vast hoards of gold, silver, and precious artifacts that have never been found. The question remains, what became of the treasure and where is it now? The Copper Scroll itself is unique. Unlike the papyrus or parchment used in the other Dead Sea Scrolls, this document is made of copper, which was rare and difficult to work with in the ancient world, measuring about 8 feet long and composed of 2 sheets of copper. It was inscribed with a series of inscriptions written in ancient Hebrew. These inscriptions are not typical biblical texts, but instead describe in vivid detail the locations of various treasures spread out across Palestine. The treasures mentioned in the scroll are said to be hidden in dozens of locations, ranging from caves to temples to even the foundations of buildings. But despite numerous attempts, none of these treasures have ever been definitively found. The Copper Scroll was discovered in 1952 by a Bedouin shepherd in Cave 3 near Cumin, along with the other famous Dead Sea Scrolls. But while the other scrolls offered a wealth of historical, religious, and philosophical insights, the Copper Scrolls seem to tell a different kind of story, one steeped in treasure and mystery. The text is unlike anything else found in the region, offering a tantalizing clue to what could be one of the greatest lost treasures in history. The scroll contains 64 lines of text, listing 64 different locations where treasures are purported to be hidden. These treasures are described in great detail: gold and silver ingots, sacred objects, and even valuable relics. According to the scroll, the treasure was hidden by priests, possibly during the Roman occupation of Palestine, or perhaps even earlier. Some researchers believe that the treasure could be linked to the Jewish temple in Jerusalem, which was looted and destroyed by the Romans in 70 AD. Others think it might be a hoard from the time of the Maccabean revolt centuries earlier. The treasure described in the Copper Scroll is said to be vast. One entry describes a treasure hidden under the ruins of a fortress containing 17 talents of gold, while another mentions a cave at the mouth of the ravine filled with piles of silver. Some of these locations appear to have specific geographic references, while others remain vague, offering only cryptic clues that have yet to be interpreted. In total, the scroll details treasures worth millions, if not billions, in today's currency. However, despite numerous attempts by archaeologists, treasure hunters, and scholars, none of these treasures have been uncovered. The mystery of the Copper Scroll's treasure has led to a variety of theories about why these treasures remain hidden and where they might be located. One of the most widely accepted ideas is that the treasures were hidden by Jewish priests in the chaos leading up to the Roman destruction of Jerusalem. The looting of the temple was a traumatic event for the Jewish people, and it is thought that the priests may have hidden the treasures to protect them from the Romans. But why write the details down on a copper scroll? And why not make the location of the treasures clearer? Could the document be a decoy meant to mislead later generations? Or was it simply that the locations were known only to a select few and the secrets of the Copper Scroll were lost when those who knew them died or disappeared? Another theory suggests that the treasure described in the Copper Scroll was never meant to be found. Some believe that the scroll could have been created as part of a religious or political scheme, perhaps to strengthen the legitimacy of a particular group or faction within the Jewish community at the time. Could the scroll have been a document designed to spark hope and inspire rebellion among the Jewish people during a time of oppression, promising the return of the sacred treasures? If so, the hidden treasure could have been little more than a symbol, a promise of divine restoration rather than a literal hoard of gold and silver. In addition to these more conventional theories, there are those who have speculated about more fantastical explanations for the missing treasure. Some believe that the treasure described in the Copper Scroll could be linked to other lost treasures in the region, such as the Ark of the Covenant, which has been the subject of intrigue and mystery for centuries. According to this theory, the treasures of the Copper Scroll were not merely material wealth, but sacred objects of immense spiritual significance, hidden away for a future time when they would be revealed. Could the Copper Scroll be part of a larger, more complex puzzle that involves the fate of the Ark itself? Then there are those who propose a more mystical or esoteric explanation. Some suggest that the treasure of the Copper Scroll was hidden not just in physical locations, but in a hidden or symbolic way meant to be uncovered only by those who possess the right knowledge or understanding. Could the treasure be hidden within the scroll's very text? Perhaps the locations described are not meant to be taken literally, but metaphorically, with the treasure representing something far more elusive: spiritual enlightenment, ancient knowledge, or even a key to understanding the hidden history of the Jewish people. One thing that cannot be denied is the sense of mystery surrounding the Copper Scroll. Despite the many efforts to decipher its cryptic instructions, the treasure has remained elusive. Some believe that the hoards described in the scroll are buried beneath the earth in caves or ruins yet to be uncovered by modern archaeology. Others suggest that the treasures may have been plundered long ago, or even that they were destroyed by the very forces that sought to protect them. As we reflect on the Copper Scroll and its hidden treasure, we are left with many unanswered questions. What happened to the treasure described in the scroll? Was it hidden to protect it from the Romans? Or was it a fabrication meant to inspire hope and rebellion? Could it still be out there, buried beneath the sands of time, waiting to be found? Or is the treasure more elusive, existing in some form beyond the physical realm, locked away in the code of the Copper Scroll itself? The mystery of the Copper Scroll's treasure remains one of history's darkest and most tantalizing enigmas. And as we continue to explore its secrets, we are left with one final question. Will the treasure ever be uncovered? Or will it remain hidden forever? Its true meaning is buried in the mists of time. As we leave behind the mystery of the Copper Scroll's missing treasure, we now turn our attention to a far older enigma, one that speaks of a forgotten people, a long-lost civilization, and colossal tombs hidden beneath the sun-drenched landscape of Sardinia. The Sardinian giant tombs, structures that predate the Neurogic civilization, are some of the most intriguing archaeological remains found on the island. These tombs, built of large stone blocks and shrouded in mystery, are thought to be the burial places of an ancient people whose identity and culture remain largely unknown. The sheer scale and craftsmanship of these tombs raise questions. Who were the people who built them? Why did they construct such massive structures? And what led to their eventual disappearance? The Sardinian giants' tombs, known locally as Tombi dei Giganti, are scattered across the island of Sardinia, particularly in its northern and central regions. These tombs, some of which measure up to 30 miles in length, consist of long stone chambers flanked by large, upright stones, creating a striking visual that evokes images of ancient monumental burial sites. The most famous of these tombs, the Tomb of the Giants at Codevio, is a grand structure made up of a long corridor leading to a circular chamber, all enclosed by a high stone wall. The tomb's entrance is flanked by two large slabs reminiscent of monumental gateways that seem to guard the sanctity of what lies within. The tombs themselves are often characterized by their impressive size and construction. The stones used to build them are enormous, some weighing several tons, and their precise placement suggests a high level of skill in stonework. The chambers within the tombs are long and narrow, typically built in the shape of a corridor or a semicircular chamber with a large slab at the back that likely served as a burial platform. The sheer effort required to construct these tombs raises an important question. How did the builders, whose exact identity remains unclear, manage to construct such massive structures with the limited tools available to them in the pre-Neurogic period? Scholars have long debated the origins of the Sardinian giants' tombs. Most agree that they were built sometime between the late Bronze Age and early Iron Age around 1500 BC to 900 BC. Though the precise dating remains uncertain, they predate the more well-known Neurogic civilization, which would rise to prominence on the island around 1000 BC. This raises an intriguing question. Who were the people responsible for constructing these monumental tombs, and what was their connection to the later Neurogic culture? The tombs are thought to have been built by a pre-Neurogic people, often referred to as the giant people, due to the scale of the tombs and the size of the stones used. While this term is more mythological than factual, it points to the awe-inspiring nature of these burial structures. The people who constructed the tombs are believed to have had a complex society, one capable of organizing large-scale labor projects. The precise nature of their culture, however, remains elusive. Some scholars suggest that they were part of a broader Mediterranean culture that had contact with other ancient peoples of the time, such as the Mycenaeans and the Phoenicians, while others believe that the people responsible for the tombs were indigenous to Sardinia, with their own unique culture and traditions. One of the most perplexing aspects of the Sardinian giants' tombs is the fact that they appear to be part of a broader island-wide tradition. These tombs are not isolated structures but are part of a network of similar sites scattered across the island. Some experts speculate that the tombs were linked to a form of ancestor worship, with the deceased believed to hold a powerful guiding presence over the living. The size and grandeur of the tombs suggest that the people who built them had a deep reverence for the dead and a strong belief in the afterlife. The large stone slabs that mark the entrances of these tombs, often adorned with carvings or reliefs, may have served as markers of spiritual significance, acting as a threshold between the living world and the realm of the ancestors. But despite these theories, the exact purpose of the tombs remains a mystery. Were they the burial sites of powerful leaders or elite figures? Or were they communal tombs designed to honor entire families or clans? The scale of the tombs suggests the former. But without more concrete evidence, it's impossible to say for certain. What is clear, however, is that the people who built these tombs possessed a sophisticated understanding of architecture and engineering. The fact that the tombs have stood the test of time, surviving thousands of years in an often harsh and unpredictable climate, speaks to the durability of the structures and the advanced techniques employed in their construction. Another intriguing feature of the Sardinian giants' tombs is the alignment of many of them. Some of these tombs appear to be oriented with particular celestial events, such as the rising and setting of the sun or specific lunar phases. This has led some researchers to suggest that the builders of the tombs had a deep understanding of astronomy, using the tombs as a kind of celestial calendar to mark important events in the agricultural or religious cycle. Could the positioning of the tombs reflect an ancient, forgotten knowledge of the stars and the movements of the heavens? Despite these tantalizing clues, the true nature of the Sardinian giants' tombs remains elusive. Numerous theories have been put forward to explain their purpose and origins, but none can fully account for the scope and grandeur of the structures. Some researchers have suggested that the tombs were part of a much larger religious or social system, one that spanned the entire island. Others have proposed that the tombs were part of a wider Mediterranean network of tomb-building cultures connected by shared beliefs and practices. Could the Sardinian giants' tombs be the remnants of an ancient lost civilization? One that left no written records, but whose monuments still stand, defying time and the elements. Perhaps the most tantalizing possibility is that the Sardinian giants' tombs are part of a larger mystery, one that connects them to other ancient burial sites around the world. There are echoes of similar structures in other parts of the Mediterranean, and even as far away as the British Isles, where the ancient burial mounds of the Celts and the mysterious stone circles of the British Isles bear striking resemblance to the Sardinian tombs. Is it possible that these cultures were connected in ways that we have yet to fully understand? Were the builders of the Sardinian giants' tombs part of a much larger transcontinental network of ancient peoples, united by a shared reverence for the dead and an advanced understanding of the natural world? As we stand before the towering stones of the Sardinian giants' tombs, we are reminded of the mysteries that remain hidden beneath the surface of history. The identity of the people who built these monumental structures, the purpose of their tombs, and the reasons for their eventual disappearance are questions that continue to elude us. And as the winds of time continue to sweep across the island of Sardinia, we are left to wonder, what secrets still lie buried beneath the earth, waiting to be uncovered? What knowledge and traditions have been lost to the ages, hidden in the very stones that have stood for millennia? The answers, it seems, are still out there, waiting to be discovered, waiting. As we leave behind the ancient giants of Sardinia, we now turn to a civilization whose enigmatic capital was erased almost entirely from history, a place where the grandeur of a once mighty city now lies buried beneath the sands of time, forgotten by the very people it was built to glorify. The city of Akkad, founded by the pharaoh Akhenaten during Egypt's New Kingdom, was once a shining symbol of revolution. A city dedicated to the worship of a single all-powerful sun god, Aten. Yet after Akhenaten's death, Akkad was abandoned and its very existence was deliberately wiped from the historical record. But why was this capital erased? And what remains of its once thriving streets and temples? Akkad, located in present-day Amarna, Egypt, was not just a city. It was an experiment in religious and political revolution. Akhenaten, who ruled during the 18th dynasty around 1350 BC, sought to shift the very foundations of Egyptian society. In a radical departure from centuries of polytheism, he instituted the worship of Aten, the sun disk, as the sole god. To reflect this dramatic shift, Akhenaten constructed a new capital, Akkaditan, on the banks of the Nile, a place that would embody his vision of divine monotheism. The city was a marvel of its time, designed to reflect the power and centrality of the sun. Wide streets, grand palaces, and monumental temples were built to honor Ain, and for a time, Akkaditan was a flourishing metropolis. But Akhenaten's reign ended abruptly in 1336 BC. And with his death, the fate of Akhetaten itself seemed sealed. His successor, the boy king Tutankhamun, reversed his father's radical religious reforms, reinstating the worship of the traditional gods of Egypt. Almost immediately, the new rulers sought to dismantle Akhenaten's legacy, abandoning Akhetaten and moving the capital back to Thebes. The city of Akhetaten, once a beacon of Akhenaten's religious vision, was left to decay. But the story does not end there. What is perhaps most intriguing is not just the city's abandonment, but the manner in which it was erased. Akhenaten's successors did not merely neglect the city, they systematically attempted to erase all traces of it. The temples dedicated to Aten were defaced. The royal palace was left to ruin, and the records of Akhenaten's reign were deliberately destroyed. The ancient Egyptians were meticulous about their history, and the erasing of Akhetaten from their records suggests a deliberate campaign to expunge the memory of Akhenaten and his controversial reign. Even the name Akhetaten was erased from the annals of Egypt's official history, and subsequent pharaohs refused to acknowledge its existence. Why would such a powerful civilization go to such lengths to obliterate the memory of one of its own rulers? The reasons behind this erasure are still a matter of debate. Some scholars suggest that the decision to abandon Akhetaten and erase its history was driven by a deep desire to return to Egypt's traditional polytheistic beliefs. Akhenaten's monotheistic revolution had alienated powerful factions within the priesthood, particularly the priests of Amun, whose god had once been the most prominent in Egyptian religion. With Akhenaten's death, those priests would have been eager to restore the old order and erase any trace of their rival's influence. Akhenaten's reign was also marked by a series of economic and political struggles. His radical changes in religious practices may have been too much for Egypt's established elites, leading to his erasure as a way to reclaim the old status quo. Another theory points to the fear that Akhenaten's vision was seen as a threat to the divine legitimacy of the pharaohs themselves. The radical nature of Akhenaten's reforms and the way he removed traditional religious practices may have left his successors feeling insecure about their own reigns. To avoid association with such a controversial figure, they might have sought to erase all traces of Akhenaten's influence, believing that this would restore stability to the country and strengthen their own rule. In the face of political and social upheaval, the memory of Akhenaten and his bold reforms could have been seen as a dangerous legacy. But the mystery deepens when we consider what happened to Akhenaten after its abandonment. Today, the ruins of the city lie scattered across the desert landscape. Its once grand structures are now little more than crumbling remnants. The temples of Aten, once so awe-inspiring, are now little more than piles of rubble. Their inscriptions erased, their sculptures defaced. Yet even in its ruins, Akhetaten speaks to us of its former glory with a strange sense of abandonment that lingers in the air. The city's layout, its wide streets and grand open spaces, suggests a carefully planned urban center designed to reflect the grandeur of the sun god. But what has remained hidden beneath the surface? What secrets might still be buried in the ruins of Akhenaten, waiting to be uncovered? Recent excavations in the area have revealed some fascinating clues. Among the ruins, archaeologists have uncovered the remains of Akhenaten's own royal tomb, though it too was looted and left incomplete. Artifacts from the city, such as pottery, jewelry, and even fragments of inscriptions, offer a glimpse into the life of the people who once lived there. Yet, despite these discoveries, much of the city's history remains shrouded in mystery. Some believe that more significant treasures may lie buried beneath the sands, treasures that could offer us further insight into the life and reign of Akhenaten. Could there be undiscovered chambers beneath the ruins, untouched by looters, that contain records or artifacts that could shed light on the true nature of Akhenaten's reign? But even more tantalizing is the possibility that Akhenaten's erasure was not just a political act, but a spiritual one. Akhenaten's vision of An as the sole god of Egypt was radical, not just for its religious implications, but for its philosophical depth. Some researchers speculate that Akhenaten's beliefs may have had a deeper hidden meaning, one that went beyond simple monotheism. Could his worship of Aten have been a precursor to later philosophical or religious movements influencing ideas about the nature of the divine and humanity's relationship with the cosmos? And if so, what did the pharaohs of the following dynasties fear in Akhenaten's teachings? Was his rejection of the traditional gods and his focus on the sun as a symbol of divine power More than just a political threat, could there have been esoteric knowledge encoded in his reforms that was intentionally suppressed? Despite the erasure of Akhetaten and Akhenaten's reign from Egypt's official history, the city itself continues to provoke fascination and intrigue. The reasons behind the city's abandonment and subsequent erasure remain a topic of debate. But one thing is certain, the mystery of the Akhenaten is far from over. With each new excavation, new questions arise. What were the true motivations behind the erasure of Akhenaten's capital? What knowledge and treasures have been lost to history? And why, after thousands of years, does the memory of Akhenaten continue to haunt the sands of the desert? As we stand before the ruins of Akhenaten today, we are reminded of the power of history to shape the present. In a civilization that prized its legacy and its gods, the deliberate attempt to erase a chapter of its history speaks volumes about the nature of power, belief, and fear. And as the sun sets over the ancient city, casting long shadows over its ruined streets, we are left to wonder what truths still lie hidden beneath the sands of Akhenaten, waiting to be revealed. As we leave the shadow of Akhenaten's vanished city, we now journey into a quieter, more ominous corner of ancient Europe, where the secrets of an unknown war lie buried beneath the mud and soil of a remote valley in northeastern Germany. The Tollens Valley, once a peaceful stretch of land crisscrossed by rivers and dense forests, now hides within it the remnants of a battle so fierce that it may have altered the course of local history. What makes this battlefield so intriguing is not just the scale of the violence, but the mystery surrounding it. Who fought in this war, and why has it remained so obscure? In 1996, while walking through the valley, a local construction worker uncovered the first of many bones, human remains scattered across the banks of the Tollens River. Initial investigations revealed a staggering discovery. The bones belonged to dozens, if not hundreds, of individuals. Archaeologists were baffled. The bodies in various stages of preservation seemed to have been part of a violent confrontation, yet no historical records mention such an event. What kind of battle took place here, and why did it leave behind so many casualties yet remain absent from the historical record? The Tollens Valley battlefield, as it has since been named, stretches along a waterway that winds through a lush, relatively uninhabited landscape. The river, once a crucial waterway for local settlements, would have served as a natural border between ancient tribes, and it's possible that it was the site of a series of violent confrontations. Yet, the evidence that has emerged from the site hints at something much more significant than local skirmishes. The first bones uncovered were soon followed by spears, arrowheads, and fragments of shields. As the years went by, the site yielded even more. The remains of weapons, copper objects, and decorated bone fragments suggested that the battle was fought by groups who were not only familiar with advanced weaponry, but also engaged in some form of organized warfare. More intriguing still were the signs of an intense and chaotic battle. The remains appeared to be scattered across a large area, suggesting that the combatants had been caught in a brutal close-quarters fight. There were signs of traumatic injuries, blunt force trauma, cuts, and broken bones, all pointing to the ferocity of the battle. In fact, some of the bodies were found with weapons still embedded in their bones. The battle, it seems, was not a quick confrontation, but one that unfolded over a prolonged period. Could it have been a clash between two powerful groups, or perhaps a series of raids by competing tribes or factions? But who were these people? The Tollens Valley battlefield is believed to date back to around 1300 BC, during the Bronze Age, when Europe was home to a variety of complex societies and shifting alliances. The warriors who fought in the valley left behind no written records to tell their story. Were they the ancestors of the people who would eventually form the Celtic and Germanic tribes, or were they part of a completely different cultural group altogether? Some archaeologists speculate that they were part of a trading network that spanned the continent, while others suggest that they could have been indigenous to the region, possibly members of a Proto-Germanic or Proto-Celtic group. Further investigations into the bodies uncovered in the valley have revealed some startling findings. Many of the remains show signs of physical stress, suggesting that the individuals had lived harsh warrior-like lives. The majority of the remains belonged to adult men, but there were also signs that women and children may have been involved, or at least present in the aftermath of the conflict. The gender distribution of the bodies raises another question. If this was a battle between male warriors, Why were there signs that the dead included individuals who would not typically be on the front lines of combat? Was this a battle fought by an entire society, not just a professional warrior class? One of the most perplexing aspects of the Tollens Valley battlefield is the absence of any clear explanation for why such a large-scale battle would take place. The discovery of the battlefield and its associated artifacts suggests that this conflict was more than just a local dispute. Some researchers believe that the battle was part of a larger regional conflict, perhaps sparked by the expansionist ambitions of one or more groups. Others propose that it could have been a single climactic event in a long-standing rivalry between neighboring tribes. If the battle was indeed part of a larger war, why is it left behind so few historical records? Was it a conflict so minor in the grand scheme of ancient history that it was simply overlooked? Or was there something about it that made it so significant that it was deliberately erased from memory? Theory that has gained some traction in recent years is that the battle in the Tollens Valley was part of an early attempt at organizing warfare on a much larger scale. The weapons found at the site, particularly the bronze arrowheads and spears, suggest that the combatants were not simply fighting in isolated skirmishes, but were participating in a structured, organized battle. This may have been a precursor to the more formalized warfare that would later define the rise of the early states in Europe. Could the conflict have been an early attempt by neighboring tribes to control important resources such as trade routes or fertile land? The presence of bronze objects, an indicator of wealth and technological prowess, suggests that these people had access to valuable resources, which may have been at the heart of the conflict. Yet, even as we uncover more of the battlefield secrets, one key question remains. Why did this battle and the people who fought it disappear from history? The answer may lie in the politics of the time. The Bronze Age was a period of significant upheaval marked by the rise and fall of various tribal alliances and shifting power dynamics. Perhaps the conflict in the Tollens Valley was simply overshadowed by larger, more impactful events. Alternatively, it's possible that the very people who fought in the battle sought to bury the memory of it, either out of shame or a desire to avoid repeating past mistakes. As we stand on the banks of the Tolinski River today, surrounded by the remnants of this long-forgotten battlefield, the mystery of its origins still looms large. Who were the combatants? What drove them to fight in such a violent, desperate conflict? And why has this battle remained so obscure, hidden beneath the earth for millennia, its story untold? The discoveries made in the Tollens Valley suggest that this battle was not a small, isolated event, but part of something larger, something that is yet to be fully understood. And as more research is conducted, more questions arise. What else might the valley hold? Are there more bodies yet to be discovered? More weapons waiting to be unearthed? More clues that could lead us to a better understanding of this long-lost war? The Tollens Valley, with its scattered remains and the unanswered questions it holds, continues to beckon archaeologists and historians alike. The story of this ancient war, still buried beneath the mud of the valley, is far from over. And perhaps just beneath the surface, the final pieces of this dark mystery are waiting to be uncovered. As we leave behind the violent clash of the Tollens Valley, we turn now to a quieter but no less perplexing corner of the ancient world, one that lies hidden beneath the arid landscapes of the Syrian desert in the region of Jordan. Here, scattered across the desolate expanse, lie the remains of a long-forgotten civilization that left behind an extraordinary and mysterious legacy. The basalt megastructures of El Jamal. These massive stone structures, often mistaken for simple ruins, have intrigued archaeologists and historians for decades. Yet despite the numerous studies and explorations, the true purpose and origins of these colossal buildings remain shrouded in mystery. El Jamal, which translates to Mother of Camels in Arabic, is a small archaeological site located in northern Jordan near the borders of Syria and Palestine. The site is known for its unique and impressive collection of black basalt structures, which stand in stark contrast to the golden sands of the surrounding desert. The area is home to several large rectangular buildings, often referred to as megastructures constructed using precisely cut basalt stones. These structures, some of which date back as far as the 1st century BC, are believed to have once served as both residential and religious buildings, but their purpose remains unclear. The scale of the buildings is astonishing. Some of the walls reach heights of up to 10 meters, and the stones used to construct them are enormous, weighing several tons each. The precision with which the stones were cut and fitted together suggests a level of craftsmanship and engineering knowledge that was far ahead of its time. But the question remains, why were these massive structures built in such a remote, barren location? And why were they abandoned after only a few centuries, leaving behind only their stone skeletons? The mystery deepens when we consider the people who built these structures. The history of al-Jamal is often linked to the ancient Nabateans, the same people who constructed the famous city of Petra. The Nabateans were known for their advanced knowledge of water management, as well as their architectural prowess, which is evident in the impressive rock-cut structures of Petra. It is thought that the Nabateans settled in the al-Jamal area sometime around the 1st century BC, constructing their basalt buildings as part of a larger settlement that may have been a center of trade or religious activity. However, the evidence is not conclusive. Some scholars argue that the Nabateans were not the original builders of the megastructures, but rather the successors of an even older civilization, one whose existence remains largely unknown. There are signs that the site may have been occupied as early as the 4th century BC, long before the rise of the Nabatean kingdom. If this is true, then the purpose of the structures and the identity of the people who built them becomes even more enigmatic. The megastructures at al-Jamal are not the only mystery surrounding the site. Over the years, archaeologists have uncovered a number of intriguing artifacts and inscriptions that point to a complex and diverse society. Among the finds are pottery, jewelry, and tools that suggest the presence of a thriving community. However, despite the wealth of material evidence, there are no written records that can shed light on the identity or motivations of the people who built these structures. This lack of written documentation is particularly frustrating, as it makes it difficult to understand the social and religious practices of the people who once lived here. One of the most striking features of the site is the presence of numerous large courtyards and open spaces within the buildings. These areas appear to have been used for communal activities, possibly for religious ceremonies or social gatherings. Some researchers speculate that the megastructures were part of a larger religious complex, perhaps dedicated to a forgotten deity or a now unknown religious practice. The layout of the buildings with their large open courtyards and the orientation of the structures suggests that the builders had a deep understanding of astronomy and cosmic alignment. Could the site have had some celestial or astrological significance, with the buildings designed to align with specific solar or lunar events? Another theory posits that the structures at al-Jamal were part of a larger network of trade settlements functioning as a key stop along ancient trade routes that connected the Arabian Peninsula with the Mediterranean world. The Nabateans, known for their extensive trading networks, may have used al-Jamal as a hub for the exchange of goods, such as spices, incense, and precious metals. The size and complexity of the megastructures could then be seen as evidence of the wealth and importance of the settlement. But if this was a bustling center of commerce, why did it fall into ruins so quickly? And why was it abandoned at a time when other Nabatean cities like Petra were thriving? There is also the question of the sudden abandonment of al-Jamal. By the 5th century AD, the site had been largely deserted, and no clear explanation has been found for why the once thriving settlement was abandoned. Some suggest that the area was affected by changes in climate, perhaps a prolonged drought that made the region inhospitable for agriculture and trade. Others propose that the decline of the Nabatean kingdom, coupled with increasing pressures from neighboring empires, led to the downfall of the settlement. Could the people of al-Jamal simply have been displaced by political or environmental factors? Or was the site intentionally abandoned? Its people are scattering to other regions in search of a new life. Despite the mysteries that still surround al-Jamal, ongoing excavations continue to yield fascinating discoveries. In recent years, archaeologists have uncovered more sections of the megastructures, as well as additional artifacts that provide insight into the lives of the people who once called this place home. Yet, for every answer uncovered, new questions arise. What was the true purpose of the site? Was it a religious center, a trading hub, or something else entirely? And why was it so quickly abandoned and forgotten? The basalt megastructures of al-Jamal remain one of the most enigmatic archaeological sites in the Middle East, and as more research is conducted, the mystery of its past deepens. What did the builders of al-Jamal know that we do not? Were they part of a larger civilization now lost to history whose influence spread far beyond the desert? Or were they the product of a long-forgotten people whose secrets have been buried by time? As we stand amidst the black basalt stones, remnants of a civilization that once flourished in the heart of the desert, we are reminded of the vastness of the unknown that still lies beneath the earth. And in the silence of Jamal's ruined structures, we are left to wonder what might still be hidden here, waiting to be uncovered. What ancient secrets could be revealed if we were only able to decipher the meaning of these massive stones and the people who built them? As we move through the corridors of time, our gaze now turns to one of the oldest and most elusive mysteries of the ancient world, one that lies at the heart of a once great civilization that spanned the vast expanse of what is now modern-day Pakistan and northwest India. The Indus Valley civilization, which flourished around 30 to 500 BC, was a remarkable society with sophisticated cities, intricate drainage systems, and a thriving economy built on trade. Yet despite its monumental achievements, the mystery of its writing system, the Indian script, remains unsolved to this day. The story of the Indian script begins with the discovery of the Indus Valley's ancient cities, most notably Harappa and Mohenjo-daro. These cities, whose remains still evoke awe, were once centers of culture, trade, and technological innovation. Archaeologists have uncovered thousands of seals, tablets, and pottery shards inscribed with what appears to be a form of writing, symbols that have yet to be definitively deciphered. These symbols, though seemingly numerous and complex, remain utterly cryptic. Despite years of research, the Indus script has resisted all attempts to unlock its meaning, leaving scholars and historians with more questions than answers. What makes the Indus script so enigmatic is its complete lack of a known linguistic or cultural context. Unlike Egyptian hieroglyphs or Sumerian unimorph, which were deciphered with the help of bilingual inscriptions or comparative languages, the Indian script offers no such clues. There is no Rosetta Stone to serve as a key, no bilingual inscriptions that might offer a starting point for understanding the symbols. The script consists of roughly 400 to 600 distinct characters, some of which appear frequently across a range of materials, including seals, pottery, and even inscriptions on bronze tools. The symbols themselves are often compact, with some resembling stylized animals or abstract shapes, while others resemble human-like figures or geometric patterns. The mystery deepens when we consider the fact that the Indus Valley civilization appears to have disappeared around 1500 BC, possibly due to a combination of environmental changes, invasions, or internal collapse. With the fall of the civilization came the abandonment of its cities, and the script too faded into obscurity. Unlike the written records of Mesopotamia or Egypt, the Indus script did not survive the passage of time. No known records or manuscripts were preserved, and with them, any knowledge of the language and culture of the people who used it. What could have happened to such a profound writing system? Was it deliberately abandoned, or did it fall out of use as the civilization collapsed? One of the most perplexing aspects of the Indus script is its apparent lack of a direct connection to any known language family. The symbols do not bear any resemblance to the scripts of neighboring ancient civilizations such as Sumerian, Akkadian, or Egyptian, which suggests that the people of the Indus Valley may have spoken a language entirely unrelated to those of the ancient Near East. Some linguists have suggested that the script may represent a Dravidian language, which is still spoken in parts of southern India today. But there is no definitive evidence to support this theory. Other theories propose that the Indus script could have been a Proto-Indic language, a precursor to the languages spoken in the Indian subcontinent today. However, without a decipherable key to unlock the script, these hypotheses remain speculative at best. Perhaps one of the most intriguing questions surrounding the Indus script is why it vanished so abruptly. While writing systems such as Egyptian hieroglyphs or Mesopotamian cuneiform persisted for centuries, the Indus script seems to have disappeared almost overnight. This sudden disappearance raises the possibility that the script was deliberately suppressed or abandoned in the wake of the civilization's decline. Could the script have been tied to a particular political or religious system, one that lost its power as the cities of the Indus Valley fell into ruin? Some scholars suggest that the writing system may have been closely linked to the elites of the Indus Valley, and when those elites were displaced or overthrown, the script went with them. Others propose that the script was not used for formal record-keeping or administration, but rather for personal or ritualistic purposes, which may explain its disappearance after the collapse of the civilization. Another possibility is that the collapse of the Indus Valley civilization was linked to environmental changes such as shifts in the monsoon patterns or river courses, which may have led to the abandonment of the cities. In such a scenario, it is conceivable that the loss of the civilization's infrastructure, including its written language, was a gradual process, one that occurred as the people of the region migrated away from the urban centers and into more rural areas. In this view, the disappearance of the script could be seen as a natural consequence of the decline of a once thriving culture, rather than the result of any deliberate act of suppression. Despite the many theories, the true purpose of the Indus script remains a mystery. Some researchers believe that the symbols may have been used for trade and commerce, serving as a means of labeling goods or recording transactions. Others argue that the script could have had a religious or ceremonial function, possibly linked to the rituals and beliefs of the Indus Valley people. Yet there is no conclusive evidence to support any single theory, and the lack of written records or translations makes it impossible to know for certain what the symbols represented. As new discoveries are made, the mystery of the Indus script only deepens. In recent years, researchers have uncovered additional inscriptions that appear to have been made using a different, more complex version of the script. These findings suggest that the writing system may have evolved over time, and that its true form may still be hidden beneath the surface. Some even propose that the script could represent a hybrid language blending elements of different linguistic traditions, but with no Rosetta Stone, no key to unlock its meaning. We are left to wonder, what did the people of the Indus Valley write? What knowledge, history, or stories have been lost to the sands of time? The fact that the Indus script remains undeciphered despite the efforts of numerous scholars over the centuries speak to the complexity and mystery of the civilization that created it. What knowledge did the people of the Indus Valley possess that was so advanced and so mysterious? Was the script part of a broader cultural, religious, or political system, one that has since disappeared without a trace? And what did its sudden disappearance mean for the people who once used it? Standing before the seals and tablets that bear the enigmatic symbols of the Indus script, we are reminded of the many secrets that still lie hidden in the ancient world. Though the language may never be deciphered, the mystery of the Indus script is a testament to the complexity of human history and the knowledge that can so easily be lost even as it is inscribed in stone. What other scripts, languages, and civilizations remain hidden beneath the dust of time, their stories waiting to be told? The answers may never come, but the search for them will continue as we strive to uncover the mysteries of our ancient past. After uncovering the forgotten script of the Indus Valley, we now turn to a more elusive mystery hidden beneath the tranquil waters of Kyrgyzstan's Lake Aysol, a place that to this day harbors the remains of an ancient city said to be submerged beneath its depths. Known as the Phantom City, this lost settlement has been the subject of speculation for centuries. What once lay at the heart of the Great Silk Road may now rest beneath the cool, crystalline waters of one of Central Asia's largest and deepest lakes. But what is the truth behind the Phantom City? And what lies buried beneath the lake's surface? Lake Aysol itself is a breathtaking sight. A vast, high-altitude lake surrounded by snow-capped mountains offering a serene and mysterious atmosphere that only adds to its allure. The lake stretches for over 170 kilometers and reaches depths of over 600 meters, making it one of the largest inland bodies of water in the world. For centuries, locals have spoken of a mysterious city that sank beneath the water. Its existence is preserved by the lake's cold, oxygen-poor environment. According to legend, this city was not just any ordinary settlement, but a prosperous and once powerful civilization that met its untimely end in mysterious circumstances. The first mention of the submerged city beneath Lake Aysol comes from local folklore, where stories have circulated for generations about a great city known as the City of Gold or the City of the Sabri, sea that vanished long ago. Some accounts describe a mighty kingdom whose rulers built grand temples and palaces, while others speak of a city built by an ancient civilization that possessed knowledge of advanced technologies long forgotten by time. These tales have captured the imagination of many. But the question remains, is there any truth behind these legends, or are they simply the product of myth and imagination? In the modern era, Evidence of a sunken city beneath Lake Iskol began to surface in the 19th and early 20th centuries. Local fishermen and travelers reported seeing strange stone-like structures just below the surface of the water, visible only during particularly low water levels. Over time, these reports piqued the interest of archaeologists and adventurers, sparking investigations into the existence of a submerged settlement. While no formal discovery has ever been made, the rumors of the Phantom City persist, with many theorists suggesting that the lake hides a treasure trove of ancient artifacts and perhaps even a forgotten history. The most compelling piece of evidence for the existence of the city is the discovery of stone ruins along the lake's shorelines, particularly near the eastern edge of Issyk-Kul. These ruins, which are thought to date back as far as the 4th century BC, bear striking resemblance to those found in other ancient Silk Road settlements. The presence of large rectangular stones and remnants of architectural features suggest that this site was once home to an advanced culture capable of monumental construction. But if these ruins are indeed the remnants of the Phantom City, how did they end up in the lake? And what caused the city to vanish beneath the waves? There are a number of theories, each more intriguing and speculative than the last. Some researchers suggest that the city could have been destroyed by a natural disaster such as an earthquake or a massive flood which caused the lake to rise suddenly and submerge the settlement. Earthquakes in the region are not uncommon, and the geography around is cool and has been shaped by seismic activity for thousands of years. Could a cataclysmic event have drowned the city, leaving behind only remnants of its grandeur? It's an appealing theory, but it's one that is difficult to prove given the lack of concrete evidence for such a disaster. Another theory proposes that the city was deliberately sunk, perhaps as a result of political or military conflict. The region around Lake Issyk has historically been a crossroads of various empires and nomadic tribes, each vying for control of the strategically important Silk Road. Could the city have been destroyed by invading forces, or was it submerged to protect its wealth and knowledge? The idea of a deliberate sinking aligns with certain historical narratives of ancient civilizations that employed such drastic measures to protect their secrets or treasures. Yet another theory suggests that the Phantom City could have been the site of an advanced civilization, one far ahead of its time, whose knowledge and technology were lost in a series of mysterious events. According to some, the city could have been the center of an ancient society that possessed technologies and wisdom that were later erased from history. This theory, while speculative, raises an intriguing possibility. Could the people of the city have known something that allowed them to harness the power of the lake itself? The idea that such a civilization could have had a profound understanding of water management, energy, or other advanced technologies is both captivating and unfathomable. Was this knowledge lost forever when the city sank? Or could it still be buried beneath the water waiting to be rediscovered? Despite these theories, concrete evidence of the submerged city has proven difficult to obtain. Efforts to conduct underwater archaeological surveys have been hindered by the lake's depth and its murky waters. While some expeditions have used sonar technology to map the lake's floor, very few tangible findings have been documented. In fact, many of the reports about stone structures beneath the water remain anecdotal, with little scientific verification to support them. Could it be that the Phantom City exists only in the realm of legend and folklore, a captivating story passed down through generations? And yet, the lack of definitive answers only adds to the mystery of Lake Issyk-Kul. What if the city does exist, hidden beneath the water, waiting for the right technology or the right person to uncover its secrets? What treasures might it hold? And what stories might it tell about a civilization that was once lost to time? The very idea that an entire city could be preserved beneath the surface of a lake, shrouded in mystery for centuries, evokes a sense of awe and wonder. As we consider the possibilities, one thing becomes clear. The Phantom City of Lake Issyk-Kul remains one of history's most tantalizing unsolved mysteries. Whether it was the victim of a natural disaster, a deliberate act of destruction, or the last remnant of an advanced ancient civilization, its story continues to elude us. The city's secrets, if they exist, are still waiting to be uncovered. Hidden beneath the lake's dark waters and the veil of time, standing on the shores of Lake Issyk-Kul today, with the wind gently rippling the water and the distant mountains standing silent in the background, it is impossible not to wonder what lies beneath those serene waves. Could the Phantom City be more than just a myth, or will it remain forever out of reach, lost to history and buried in the depths of the lake? As we leave behind the murky depths of Lake Issyk-Kul, we turn our attention now to the distant shores of the Indian Ocean, where another long-lost mystery waits to be uncovered, one that once played a crucial role in the trade networks of ancient Africa, the forgotten empire of Rupta, mentioned by early Greek and Roman historians, once stood as a beacon of wealth and cultural exchange, but today it is little more than a name in ancient texts. Its location and significance shrouded in mystery. What was Rapa, and why does it remain one of the most elusive trade empires of antiquity? Imagine standing on the sun-drenched coast of East Africa, the endless horizon of the Indian Ocean stretching out before you. The rhythmic sound of the waves crashing against the shore masks the untold stories of this ancient land where traders from far-flung corners of the world once converged. Along these shores, on an unnamed stretch of coast, was Rapa, a city or perhaps a series of settlements whose influence reached from the shores of Africa to the distant lands of the Arabian Peninsula, India, and beyond. The earliest accounts of Rapa come from Greco-Roman sources, particularly the works of the Greek explorer and geographer Claudius Ptolemy and the Roman merchant Periplus of the Arthurian Sea. In their writings, Rapa is described as a thriving port city located on the southeastern coast of Africa, somewhere near the region of modern-day Tanzania, although the exact location remains uncertain. According to these ancient accounts, Rapa was a hub of trade known for its bustling markets and the exchange of exotic goods such as ivory, gold, and precious stones, as well as slaves which were carried across the Indian Ocean to distant empires. Yet, despite its prominent position in ancient trade routes, Rapa is not mentioned in any archaeological records, and its precise location has eluded researchers for centuries. What was it about this mysterious empire that caused it to disappear from history? Could the city have been swallowed by the sea, lost to time and erosion, or did its people simply vanish without leaving a trace? The most tantalizing clue about Rapa's location comes from the Periplus of the Arthurian Sea, a Greek manuscript written in the 1st century AD. The author describes Rapa as being situated near a river, possibly the Rufi River, in what is now Tanzania. The city is said to have been a major trading port for the exchange of goods between the African interior and the markets of the Arabian Peninsula, India, and even further west to the Roman Empire. According to these ancient accounts, the city was also famous for its fine craftsmanship, particularly its use of wood and ivory, materials highly praised by traders of the time. The problem, however, is that no one has been able to pinpoint the exact location of Rupta. While the Periplus gives a vague description of its geography, there are no remaining physical structures or artifacts to confirm its existence. Several archaeological sites along the Tanzanian coastline have been proposed as potential locations for Rapa, but none have yielded conclusive evidence. Some scholars believe that the city could have been located at a site such as Shangwen, an ancient settlement near the mouth of the Limpopo River, or the coastal town of Kilwa Kisiwani, an important port in the Swahili coast. Both sites boast remnants of ancient trade, but neither is a definitive match for the descriptions found in the ancient texts. As scholars continue to search for Rapa, the mystery only deepens. What happened to the empire that once controlled such a critical position in the ancient trade networks? Did it simply fade away? Its merchants and people dispersed by changing trade routes or the shifting tides of the empire? Or could it be that Rapa met a more dramatic end, swallowed by the very forces of nature that had once made it so prosperous? One popular theory is that Rapa's decline was linked to the changing patterns of trade in the Indian Ocean. As the centuries wore on, new trade routes emerged, connecting the Arabian Peninsula and India more directly to the ports of Southeast Asia, bypassing the East African coast altogether. With the rise of new maritime powers and the decline of others such as the Roman Empire, Rapa may have been left behind, gradually losing its influence as the world's attention shifted elsewhere. Some also speculate that environmental factors such as rising sea levels or the shifting of river mouths may have led to the abandonment of the city, effectively erasing it from the map. But even if Rapa did not succumb to a natural disaster, there is still the question of its disappearance from historical memory. The city was mentioned in the records of the ancient world, Yet no one seems to have made a concerted effort to record its downfall or preserve its legacy. Was Rapa simply a victim of history's tendency to forget the smaller kingdoms that thrived on the fringes of major empires? Or was its disappearance part of a deliberate eraser, perhaps due to the rise of new powers or changing political climates in the region? Another intriguing possibility lies in the idea that Rapa's legacy may have been overshadowed by the more prominent empires of the time. For instance, the ancient kingdoms of Aksum in what is now Ethiopia and the rise of the Arab caliphates in the 7th and 8th centuries AD may have led to the fading of Rupta from historical memory. As new powers emerged and new trade routes developed, the city may have become irrelevant, and its former glory could have been forgotten, swallowed by the passing centuries. Moreover, there is the tantalizing possibility that Rapa's legacy was hidden deliberately. Could the city have possessed treasures or knowledge so valuable that it was deliberately erased from history? Its records were destroyed to prevent them from falling into the hands of rival powers. This idea, while speculative, adds a layer of intrigue to the mystery. What if the people of Rapa were guarding something far more valuable than gold or ivory? Perhaps knowledge, a unique culture, or even an advanced technology that they chose to take with them when the city was abandoned. As we explore the mystery of Rapa, we are reminded of the countless forgotten civilizations that once thrived along the shores of the world's oceans. Their names and stories lost to time. Could Rapa have been just one of many trade empires whose records were swept away by the forces of nature, war, or cultural shifts? What knowledge, artifacts, and treasures might still lie hidden beneath the sands of East Africa or beneath the waves of the Indian Ocean waiting to be discovered? And yet, despite all the speculation and theories, the true location of Rapa remains elusive. The clues are there, scattered across ancient texts, archaeological digs, and local legends. But the full story of this once great empire has yet to be uncovered. What lies beneath the surface of this mystery, waiting to be revealed? The question of Rapa's true history may never be answered, but as long as the search continues, the forgotten empire of Rupta will remain one of history's darkest mysteries, challenging us to look deeper into the past and question what else may still be hidden from view. As we journey through history, one mystery that beckons from the high deserts of Peru is the sudden silence of the Machi oracle priests, an enigmatic disappearance that continues to perplex archaeologists and historians alike. The Moche civilization, which thrived on the northern coast of Peru between 100 and 700 AD, left behind remarkable evidence of its power, wealth, and religious practices. Yet there is one aspect of their society that has remained shrouded in silence: the oracle priests, whose sudden disappearance from the historical record remains one of the most compelling and unresolved mysteries of the ancient world. Picture yourself standing on the windswept plains of northern Peru. The dry, arid landscape stretching out before you, broken only by the towering pyramids of the Moche people. These massive structures built from mud and brick rise out of the earth like ancient sentinels guarding secrets of the past. The Moche are remembered for their artistry, intricate pottery, and monumental constructions. But it is their priesthood, particularly the oracle priests, that continues to haunt the imagination. The oracle priests held an esteemed position in Moche society, serving as spiritual intermediaries between the gods and the people. They were believed to have the power to communicate with divine forces, to predict the future, and to perform rituals that could alter the course of history. Yet, despite their prominence, the oracle priests vanished without a trace, leaving behind no written records and little more than archaeological clues to their existence. The oracle priests were intimately connected to the grand pyramids and ceremonial centers of the Moche, such as the Haka de la Luna and Haka del Sol, two massive pyramidal structures that were central to Moche religious and political life. These pyramids, with their carefully constructed walls and grand staircases, housed elaborate murals depicting gods, animals, and human figures engaged in ritualistic activities. It is here, amidst a vibrant fresco and sacred spaces, that the oracle priests would have performed their rites, communicating with powerful deities to guide the Mache people through their lives. The priests were often depicted in Moche pottery and artwork shown with elaborate headdresses, ceremonial attire, and staffs, symbols of their power and authority. One of the most striking depictions of an oracle priest can be found in the intricate pottery of the Machi culture, where the priests are shown in trance-like states holding oracles or drinking from sacred vessels. These images suggest that the oracle priests were not only important religious figures, but also wielded immense influence over the political and social landscape of the Machi civilization. So what happened to these powerful figures whose role was so vital to the Mach people? The oracle priests did not simply fade away gradually. There is no record of their decline or a slow loss of influence. Instead, they vanished in a sudden and mysterious silence, leaving behind a vacuum in both the religious and political spheres. The abrupt disappearance of such a central and influential group begs the question: did the oracle priests abandon their posts, or were they silenced by forces beyond their control? Some scholars believe that the priest's disappearance could be linked to the eventual collapse of the Machi civilization itself. The Machis, like many ancient societies, faced challenges that may have contributed to their downfall. Climatic changes, resource depletion, internal strife, and possibly even external invasions. These factors may have disrupted the balance of power within Moche society, leading to a collapse in their religious practices and, by extension, the abrupt cessation of the oracle priest's role. Could the oracle priests have been abandoned or overthrown by a new rising power within Mochi society? Did a shift in religious beliefs or political structures lead to their fall from grace? Alternatively, some have speculated that the oracle priest's disappearance was linked to an even more dramatic event, a natural disaster. The region around the Mache heartlands is known for its seismic activity with earthquakes and occasional volcanic eruptions. Could such a catastrophic event have destroyed the Mach ceremonial centers, including the pyramids where the priests performed their rituals? Archaeological evidence shows signs of damage to some Mochi sites, such as the Hakka del Sol, which may have suffered from such an event. If the oracle priests' temples and shrines were destroyed, could their entire power structure have collapsed as well? This theory, though plausible, remains speculative, as no direct evidence of a natural disaster has been conclusively linked to the priests' disappearance. Priests. Another possible explanation for the oracle priests' sudden silence involves a more gradual erosion of their influence. The Mo civilization, like many other ancient societies, underwent periods of upheaval during which religious and political structures were redefined. Could the oracle priests have lost favor with the people or the ruling elite? The rise of new religious movements or competing priesthoods may have overshadowed the power of the oracle priests. If their role was based on their ability to interpret divine will, what would have happened if a new system of belief or governance emerged, challenging their authority? It's possible that the oracle priests were simply supplanted by a new order, their influence waning as the Moche society evolved. Perhaps the most intriguing theory of all, however, lies in the realm of the supernatural. The oracle priests were believed to have a direct connection to the gods, and their ability to perform rituals and make prophecies was considered divine in nature. Could the sudden disappearance of the oracle priests have been interpreted as a sign of divine intervention? Were the priests themselves victims of a divine judgment, punished for some unknown transgression? Some suggest that the Mach may have believed that the gods had abandoned them, a belief that could have shaken the very foundation of their society. If the oracle priests were seen as the earthly conduits of the gods, their disappearance might have been viewed as a signal that the Machka's gods no longer wished to communicate with the people. While many theories have been put forward, the true fate of the oracle priests remains uncertain. What we do know is that their disappearance left a significant void in Mochi society. The sudden absence of these powerful figures must have had a profound impact on the social and religious fabric of the civilization. Without the priests to guide them, the Moche may have struggled to find direction, leading to the eventual collapse of their once great culture. Today, the ruins of the Machi civilization continue to stand as a testament to the lost world of the oracle priests. The pyramids at Huaca de la Luna and Huaca del Sol, with their stunning fresco and intricate carvings, offer a glimpse into a time when the oracle priests held sway over the Mach-Ki people. Yet, despite the wealth of archaeological evidence, the questions surrounding their sudden disappearance remain unanswered. Did the oracle priests abandon their roles, or were they victims of a greater force? And what does their silence tell us about the fate of the Moche civilization itself? As we gaze upon the ruins of this once thriving culture, we are reminded that even the most powerful empires and their most influential figures can disappear without a trace. The silence of the oracle priests is a haunting reminder of how fragile the line between history and myth can be, and how easily the echoes of a great civilization can fade into the wind. The Moch, their priests, and their secrets may never be fully understood, but the mystery of their silence continues to captivate the imagination, urging us to look deeper into the past for answers that may never come. As we leave behind the quiet echoes of the Moch oracle priests, we turn now to a mystery that has baffled historians, cryptographers, and treasure hunters for centuries. A cryptic enigma carved into stone whose meaning continues to elude us. The Shudborough inscription. Nestled on the grounds of Shudborough Hall in Staffordshire, England, this seemingly simple sequence of symbols has inspired countless theories, yet remains one of the most unbreakable codes in the history of cryptography. What is it about these strange characters that has captivated the minds of so many, and what might they reveal if decoded? Imagine standing before the grand estate of Shudborough Hall. Its stately stone walls and sprawling gardens stretch out beneath a cloud-filled sky. At the center of the estate stands a monument known as the Shepherd's Monument, a sculpture that has puzzled visitors for generations. Embedded into the monument is a sequence of letters and numbers, OOOSVAV, a cryptic inscription that has baffled both amateur sleuths and professional cryptographers for over 250 years. These letters, arranged in an odd pattern, are accompanied by a series of Latin and Greek symbols, a pair of mysterious inscriptions, and what appears to be a reference to the Holy Grail. But despite decades of investigation, no one has been able to crack the code, leaving the Shudborough inscription as one of history's most enigmatic and enduring mysteries. The monument was commissioned in the late 18th century by the first Earl of Lichfield, Charles Littleton, who was known for his interests in art, architecture, and ancient symbols. The Shepherd's Monument itself is part of a larger landscaped garden designed to evoke both the classical beauty of ancient Rome and the mysteries of the East. It is said that Littleton was inspired by the works of the French philosopher and historian Count Desire, a man rumored to be a master of alchemy, cryptography, and secret societies. The inscription, it seems, was deliberately placed on the monument as a kind of puzzle, an intellectual challenge that would stump future generations, offering a tantalizing glimpse into the secrets that might lie hidden beneath its surface. The letters OUS5AVV appear in a seemingly random order, yet they are accompanied by an image of a shepherd standing in front of a classical ruin, as well as a number of other symbols and references to the Grail legend. Some have speculated that the letters represent a Latin phrase or sentence, while others believe that they may be a cipher or code that needs to be cracked. The most famous interpretation of the inscription suggests that the letters could be a cryptic reference to the Holy Grail itself, a hidden treasure that has captivated the minds of mystics and scholars for centuries. But what does this inscription truly mean? And why is it proven so difficult to decode? One theory, first proposed by the noted scholar and cryptographer Dr. Walter John, suggests that the letters are an anagram with the phrase OOSVAV rearranged to spell Vat S Sum, which translates roughly as the vessel and the sum. In this interpretation, the inscription may refer to the vessel of the Holy Grail, an object that has been the subject of myth and legend for centuries. According to this theory, the monument was created as a kind of hidden map pointing to the location of the Grail, or perhaps the ultimate secret behind its existence. But despite the plausibility of this theory, no definitive evidence has been found to confirm that the inscription refers directly to the Grail. Another popular theory proposes that the inscription is a cipher, a form of code that was designed to be decrypted only by those with the key to its meaning. The idea of hidden codes and secret messages has long been a staple of history. From the encrypted writings of Renaissance scholars to the coded messages of wartime spies, could it be that the Shudborough inscription is simply a puzzle, an intellectual riddle created by someone with knowledge of cryptographic techniques? If so, who would have been capable of crafting such a complex code? And why was it hidden in plain sight on a monument? There are those who believe the inscription may be tied to the Freemasons, a secretive society with a long history of using codes and symbols to convey hidden meanings. The Freemasons were known to be active during the 18th century, and their symbols and rituals have been linked to many famous mysteries throughout history, including the quest for the Holy Grail. The connection between the Shugborough inscription and the Freemasons is not purely speculative. Some scholars have noted that the Shepherd's Monument contains several Masonic symbols, including a reference to the number 3 and the letter G, both of which are significant in Masonic ritual. Could the inscription be a secret message meant only for those initiated into the mysteries of the Masonic order? Alternatively, some have speculated that the inscription could be a reference to an even older tradition, one that draws upon the ancient cultures of Egypt, Greece, and Rome. The symbols etched into the monument might not be a mere cipher or code, but rather a complex series of references to a lost knowledge, an intellectual inheritance from a bygone era, preserved for posterity in the form of this monument. Could the Shugborough inscription be an attempt to preserve an ancient wisdom perhaps related to alchemy, astronomy, or the sacred geometry that underpins the design of many ancient structures? The idea that the inscription could be a remnant of an ancient intellectual tradition raises intriguing possibilities. Though no solid evidence has yet been found to confirm such a theory, despite the countless theories and attempts to decode the inscription, the true meaning of the letters is elusive. Some cryptographers have claimed to have solved the puzzle, but their answers have been met with skepticism and rejection by the broader academic community. The problem, as many experts point out, is not simply that the inscription resists decoding, but that it seems to defy all conventional methods of interpretation, whether it is a cipher, an anagram, a reference to the Holy Grail, or something else entirely. The Shugborough inscription remains an unsolved mystery, a code that cannot be broken. As we stand before the Shepherd's Monument today, the unanswered question still lingers in the air. What was Charles Littleton trying to say with this cryptic inscription? Was it a message to future generations, a challenge to those who would come after him, or a key to a hidden treasure waiting to be uncovered? And why has it proven so difficult to decipher even after centuries of attempts? The Shugborough inscription, with its strange letters, symbols, and hidden meanings, is a reminder of the mysteries that still remain locked within history's depths. The silence of this unbroken code invites us to question what might still be hidden from our understanding. Secrets that could change our understanding of the past, and perhaps even our future. And so the mystery persists, tantalizing us with the possibility that one day someone will finally uncover the key to this ancient puzzle. Until then, the Shugborough inscription remains a symbol of the hidden knowledge and forgotten secrets of our past, an enigma that refuses to be solved. As we leave behind the mysteries of the Shugborough,